Slay the Patriarchy, SLEIGH, right? Everybody's favorite. I am fucking Zen. Themed items, hoodies, sweatshirts, mugs, all kinds of stuff. So go check it out. And again, thank you for being here. Happy Friday. We appreciate you. We're going to get into, obviously, the continued saga of the assistant manager to the assistant manager of war crimes, Pete Hegseth, because the story continues to change. And I'm going to give you guys some prime examples today of spin, because spin is part of politics, right? It's part of the biased approach to politics. But the biggest issue now that we're having is just the words from Tom Cotton are spreading around now, and people are taking that as the truth. Well, there's new reporting from Newsweek about that meeting yesterday with the admirals and the briefing that the members of the intelligence community got, which is going to destroy Tom Cotton's narrative. But that won't matter to many people because they just don't really care. I want to address a couple things first. There was a ruling yesterday by the Supreme Court, in case you hadn't heard. Wow, that was quick. You guys helped me hit that live goal right out of the gate. Thank you, friends. You guys can keep tapping and sharing. We appreciate that. Help us get out the FYP as soon as possible. I'll just do this one. Love the cowboy hat. And thank you all for that. Appreciate it. There was a ruling by the Supreme Court yesterday where they reversed the lower court's ruling that Texas, when they gerrymandered their district, the lower court ruled that they were unlawful and unconstitutional. Texas appealed, went to the Supreme Court, and they won. So they'll use their new map. And people are like, oh, that sucks. Well, sure. Okay. But here's the funny thing about it, is that the Supreme Court ruled that it was not drawn on racial lines, which I think is bullshit based on the text, but that it was purely political. And gerrymandering under our Constitution, strangely enough, is constitutional. You can gerrymander, which something I would like to discuss in the future. I want independent commissions every state. I do not want state legislatures having anything to do with drawing congressional maps. We can talk about that in the future. You recall the Department of Justice attempted to sue California, claiming that they redrew their maps based on racial lines. Now, they can't. That lawsuit's just going to die on the vine because of what just happened in Texas. End of the day, I'm not surprised. I don't want you guys to be distracted by it. I don't want you to be too concerned because of a couple things. One, the political map is not looking good for the Republicans anyway. And I think all this is doing is just showing that they have to try to cheat to try to maintain power. I want you to remember the number 13. I bring up 13 because the margin that Donald Trump won the Tennessee 7 district by, the race that happened this week, was 22 points, right, in 2024. A district that's been held that's solidly red, that is bright red, that's been in Republican hands for 40 years, going back to 1983, I think. Because of that, and because Afton Baines ran such a great campaign, speaking about affordability, talking about things that matter to most Americans, whether you're red, blue, independent, purple, doesn't matter, that swung the election results 13 points to the left. So every Republican who's up for re-election that is in a red district that won by less than 13 points, I think that is the marker to look at. Because if you can, that is one of the most heavily ruby red districts in the country. It's one of the larger margins from a congressional district, right? So if you can swing a bright red district 13 points 1 year later after an election, then that is bad. Those are red flags flashing for the Republican Party. So let them do their thing. Let them celebrate today. And here's the funny thing about it, though. Even if this map does go into place, it looks like it will. They drew that map. They drew that map because of election returns from 2024 in the Hispanic vote, and because of the change in attitude towards from the Hispanic community. Again, generally speaking, no one voting block is a monolith, but you've seen shifts based on elections since. You've seen the Hispanic vote in New Jersey, in Virginia, and other places across the country move significantly left. So they may have. What they did is they took solidly red districts and they tried to create, by marginalizing blue district, they tried to create a more secure red district. In fact, it might work against them. So if that's their game, let them play it. Nothing for us to worry about. Let them do their thing. Don't really care. It just shows how desperate they are. Okay. So that's one story from yesterday. And, I think that that pretty much addresses what we wanted to talk about in regards to that. But keep in mind, there's an Indiana state senator, Republican state senator, because of what Donald Trump said about Tim Walz, referring to the governor of Minnesota using the R slur, right? The state senator from Indiana has, I believe, he said 2 children with Down syndrome. And he has come out and said that was absolutely unacceptable. The president should figure out a way to be more responsible. This is a Republican in Indiana. He's not going to vote for any redistricting. And because the margins are so slim there, it's likely not going to pass. Virginia has come out and said that they're going to redraw their lines. We know other states are talking about it as well. So this is ultimately going to be a net positive for Democrats. I firmly believe that. We'll see, of course. It's early, but all warning signs, every polling indicator, in every category, whether it be the economy or crime or immigration or foreign affairs, the president's upside down. It's just not good days these days for our friends on the right. I know Pritzker said the same thing. I agree. Gerrymandering drawn on political lines is legal. I hate it. We should all want independent commissions, right? But this is the game Republicans want to play. They can't win on policy, so what choice do you have? And this is what the American public have been asking for. Like, stand up to this shit, which is part of why I want to have our Free Speech Friday show be themed, what do you stand for? It's really, I mean, what's been happening with the in my opinion, illegal boat strikes. Another one, while this is going on, there was another one in the Pacific. While all that's been going on, we've seen a even clearer divide between how people look at humanity. When people are saying they don't give a fuck about the Geneva Convention, when people are celebrating suffering, bloodthirsty, cruel and unusual, right? And we can disagree about economics. We can disagree about how we want to prop up our public health system or education. But how can you debate human rights, right? You are either for them or against them. And you don't get to pick and choose, right? You can't come up here and claim that you're pro-life. In my world, that means pro-forced birth, and celebrate the death penalty. Or be happy with people being, without data, without information, being boom-boomed in the middle of the ocean. That whole story is just getting wilder and wilder because of the lies that have been told constantly by no matter who it is in the administration. They're just lying to you. So, so I mean, we'll get into that today, and I want to hear from you. Like, I want to know what it is that you stand for, and I don't care if you're in opposition. I don't care. I mean, I just want to know what you stand for, but be prepared to answer some questions, because that's the most important thing. We live in a world now where the conservatives and the right tend to just want to. They don't stand for anything. They are in opposition to everything. They don't stand for human rights. They don't. They don't stand for small government. They think they do, but they don't. They don't stand for law and order. They think they do, but they don't. So it's just, we'll call it out. Another story I think is really frustrating. It's going to frustrate the president big time, and then members of the MAGA communities, because a federal grand jury in Norfolk, Virginia has declined to issue a new mortgage fraud indictment going after Letitia James, as the DOJ tried to revive the case that a judge tossed on November the 24th. The earlier case was thrown out because, this is reporting by AP, the earlier case was thrown out because the U.S. attorney who brought the charges, Lindsay Halligan, a Trump ally, was ruled illegally appointed. By the way, same thing happened to Alina Habba. So they're just losing across the board. If winning is losing, then they're winning. Because she lacked the authority to prosecute James or James Comey. DOJ technically could try again, but this is now the second failed attempt to charge her over the same Norfolk, Virginia mortgage. Prosecutors allege that she misled a lender about how she intended to use a 2020 Norfolk property in order to get better mortgage terms. She has denied wrongdoing, calling the prosecution politically motivated retaliation for her role in Trump-related investigations and the civil fraud case against him. Don't forget, there's that infamous Truth Social post the president put out a while back, DM'd to Pam, basically saying, go after James Comey, go after Letitia James, go after Adam Schiff, others. And then within days, Lindsay Halligan was appointed to the post, and that's when the indictment started. So it's clearly politically motivated. So it gets really bad. I'll get into that in just a second as to how bad this ruling is for them. I'll talk about that in just a second. She's denied wrongdoing. in the background, she's still very active as Attorney General. For example, she's recently issued information on consumer restitution from the $700 million Google App Store settlement and announced wins in other federal lawsuits. Conservative watchdog groups have filed bar complaints accusing her of professional misconduct over the mortgage affair, trying to get her disciplined as a lawyer. Bottom line, nothing criminal. Here's where it's really, really bad for this administration. Former federal judges and DOJ officials regularly cite a rough rule of thumb. Federal grand juries return indictments in well over 99% of cases presented to them. A famous line from New York Chief Judge Saul Walker is that a grand jury would indict a ham sandwich. An exaggeration, but based on the fact that refusals are extremely uncommon. The Bureau of Justice Stats once noted of the 162,000 federal cases brought into for prosecution in a single year, only 11 were declined by a grand jury. That's 0.007%. So this administration apparently can't even indict a ham sandwich. They've had two. They've had three thrown out now. So of the 11 on average per year, in the last 2 weeks, they've chalked up three. The Comey case thrown out, the James case thrown out the first time, the James case thrown out the second time. So they secured two indictments, but they were both deemed illegal because of the appointment. And now here they are again they used a legal prosecutor this time, but the grand jury said, we don't have any evidence. Why indictments are nearly automatic? Because prosecutors control the process, which means they choose the evidence, they choose the witnesses and the narrative. The defense is not even present. So in a grand jury, in a request to get an indictment from the grand jury, the defense is not even there. So there was not even an argument against. Prosecution, in this case, the Justice Department comes in and presents this evidence, and grand jury's like, nothing to see here. The standard of proof is low. It's probable cause, not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Grand jurors tend to defer to the Department of Justice. They assume prosecutors wouldn't present a case unless it was strong. And prosecutors usually don't bring weak cases to a grand jury, so the pool is already pre-filtered. So what does it mean when you don't get an indictment? The case was unusually weak or poorly prepared. The evidence didn't meet the even low threshold of probable cause. The case was seen as legally defective, wrong statute, wrong venue, incorrect theory, etc. The grand jury was uneasy about the motives behind the prosecution. Interesting. And the prosecutors themselves may have been divided internally. It's extremely rare. Again, thank you. Hi, Swishy Raiders. Thank you, guys. So again, 99% of the time, the Department of Justice is able to get an indictment, and they did not. All that winning. Crazy. I think I got somebody in the box. Good morning, Lee. How are you?
Good morning.
Yes, what's on your mind, Lee?
Well, you're saying, what do you stand for? What do you stand for? What's going on in Minnesota with the Somalians? Do you stand for that? Are you okay with that?
Hey, Lee. So I get to ask the questions. Why don't you tell me what you stand for, Lee?
I stand for what's going on. I voted for Trump. This is what's going on.
So do you stand for ignoring the Geneva Convention?
Yes. Whatever he does, I'm standing for. Yes.
So you're okay with unaliving survivors? Shipwrecked people?
So if they're shipwrecked, what are you saying? We gotta go help them? Is what you're saying?
Well, that's what the international law says. Yeah. So you're opposed to the Geneva Convention, right?
If there's a good reason to oppose it, then yes.
I'm just asking you. I'm asking you. Okay. I'm asking you. According to the Geneva Convention, U.S. law and international law, we can't be attacking people who are shipwrecked with boats turned upside down and on fire. I'm asking you if you are okay with that.
Absolutely, yes, I'm okay with that.
Cool, good to know. Appreciate that. What do you stand for? Right? This is what I'm talking about, friends. How can people stand for that? Because Orange Daddy? Because when your nose was up his ass, Lee, you could smell it? Right? How embarrassing for you. How embarrassing. How embarrassing to stand here in front of 900 people and say, I don't give a fuck about international law. I don't care about the Geneva Convention. Oh, and by the way, you fake-ass patriots, you understand that if an American service member were captured, and if an American service member were shipwrecked, and or American service member was a non-enemy combatant, they're also protected by the Geneva Convention too. Okay? They're protected by that as well. So what you're basically saying is, since you say fuck the Geneva Convention, if a member of our military is captured, you're totally fine with them being tortured. You're totally fine if they're unable to get back in the fight, and we'll talk about that in just a second. You're okay with them being boom boomed. And you guys think that's a flex? You think that's a flex, Lee? I would pivot to the Minnesota situation too, considering there's no there there. You can have 60 people who want to sue the government. Fine, let them do it. Present the evidence. If there's a case, convict, indict. We don't fucking care. But you just told the world you just showed the world who you are. You're a fake patriot. You're a traitor. You want suffering. You don't care. Which again is so wild. There's a flash goal, friends. Help us out with that. It's donuts. Yeah, exactly. The xenophobia is showing. It's wild that you immediately pivoted to that. I stand for whatever Donald Trump tells me because I'm in a fucking cult. ... All right. God, what a way to start the day. Free Speech Friday. So we can certainly, anybody can say whatever the hell they want. But when we have people like that who just don't give a fuck about their fellow human, it tells you all you need to know. And you know what, friends? The debate ends there. There's nothing else to discuss. There's literally nothing else to discuss. Whatever. It's fine. All right, so let's get into into what happened yesterday. So as you know, there was a hearing. There was a long sought after testimony behind closed doors. Thank you guys for helping us hit the flash goal. You guys are on it today. Appreciate y'all very, very much. Yeah, exactly. We do appreciate the engagement. Just a quick reminder, there is some new items in the merch store. Go check them out. I think you'll like it. Facts HQ. We get asked about our items a lot, and there's a lot of cool stuff in there. I want to thank our team, Sam in particular, for putting a lot of the new items in. So thank you. And again, in Discord, a lot of changes made based on your feedback. So if you want to join our Discord, please either go to the link that's in the link tree in my bio. You'll find it. If it doesn't work for you, just copy the URL, post it in a browser, and that will take you where you need to go. Just follow the steps. That's all we ask. So thank you. Okay. So what I want to kind of do is I want to remind people of what it is that we've been told recently, because we've got this. This is the whole the spin. So we've got people from both parties that attended the same hearing yesterday, and they have different views on the hearing. So the first sound I'm going to play for you is from Tom Cotton. Tom Cotton, I don't know how you can double down on what he said here. Well, I know why, because people like Lee, who are bloodthirsty fucks, appreciate it because they want to see suffering too. So this is Tom Cotton. He was a member of this committee hearing. He was there. He's on the intelligence. He's a Republican. He's a leader on the Republican Senate Intelligence Committee. Okay, so this is what he had to say. All right.
The second strike and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd.
By the way, second strike and third and fourth strike. Third and fourth strike is a little bit new. We didn't talk about that yet, but we will in a second.
Were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we would expect our military commanders to do.
Exactly.
Lawful, righteous, lawful, and needful. Okay.
Did you see in terms of the video of the second strike? Were there survivors?
I saw two survivors.
Do you notice that little laugh? Okay.
Trying to flip a boat, loaded with drugs, bound for the United States, back over so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context we heard, of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. General Kane made it clear multiple times under questions from me that the orders have not changed from the first strike to today. So the actions that our military took on September 2nd and the actions they took on a subsequent strike in which there were distressed shipwreck that were deemed non-combatant is happening under the same legal standards and operation order.
Was there a kill-all order from Secretary Hegseth?
No, both. Admiral Bradley was very clear that he was given no such order, not to give no quarter or to kill them all. He was given an order that, of course, was written down in great detail, as our military always does.
Okay, so two things, and then we'll talk about the other perspective on this. The claim that they have been making all along, is that these boats were bound for the shores of America, right? They're coming to the United States. Even in that little statement that Tom Cotton made, he acknowledged that the people that were, again, two things, acknowledging that people were hanging off the side of the boat, that's a tell, and that they were going to attempt to flip the boat, a boat that was on fire, a boat that was, in some reporting, that was sinking, partially sinking. So what Tom Cotton wants you to believe, and the mouth breathers will believe it, is that two people in the water, after having just survived a missile attack, are going to flip the boat over from the water. Have you ever capsized a canoe in the water? A canoe with two people. It's not the easiest thing to flip over when you're in the water. Okay? It's not the easiest thing. It fills with water. So what he wants you to believe, these people were attempting to flip over a boat after they got discharged from the boat, swam back over to it, and we're going to flip it over while it's on fire, and then get back on board and head to the shores of America. Listen to what he said again.
The first strike, the second strike, and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we would expect our military commanders to do.
What exactly did you see in terms of the video of the second strike? Were there survivors?
I saw two survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs bound for the United States back over so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context we heard of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. General Kane made it clear multiple times under questions from me that the orders have not changed from the first strike to today. So the actions that our military took on September 2nd and the
I'm sorry. There's one thing that I wanted just to highlight again. I just want to play this from the top again. There's one thing I want to highlight.
And the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we would expect our military commanders to do.
He also called them righteous.
What did you see in terms of the video of the second strike? Were there survivors?
I saw two survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs bound for the United States back over so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context we heard of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists.
Okay, so I'm going to pause right there. So two things. One, again, he wants you to believe that two people who are now fighting for their lives because they were just boomed and discharged from a boat, swam over to it, acknowledging himself that they were clinging to the side, that they're going to flip it over, that boat that's on fire, and because they were in contact with other narco boats. Okay, well, it's when you say that, it makes it difficult when there's a story that also came from that same hearing where, hold on a second. Is this the one I wanted? This is reporting from Newsweek. Two men unalived in a controversial double-tap U.S. military strike on a suspected drug trafficking vessel in September did not have a radio or any other means of communication, the senior commander overseeing the operation told lawmakers yesterday. Admiral Mitch Frank Mitch Bradley, who ran Joint Special Operations Command at the time, delivered the update in closed-door briefings viewed by lawmakers from both parties. His account, reported and published yesterday, undercuts earlier private briefings where defense officials suggested the survivors were attempting to radio for help. Lawmakers who viewed the video called it enormously disturbing. Bradley's acknowledgement that the survivors could not call for reinforcement removes the central claim previously used to argue they were still legitimate targets. A quote says, with Thursday's briefing, who described the rationale for the second strike as, quote, fucking insane. The shift adds to weeks of evolving explanations from the current administration. Newsweek has reported that Pentagon officials were aware survivors remained alive before the follow-up strike was ordered, citing sources who said surveillance video footage showed the men clearly visible on the shipwreck. The Pentagon's Law of War manual states that unaliving shipwrecked people who are in need of assistance and care and refraining from hostile act is prohibited, fueling scrutiny over whether the second strike violated those standards. So again, think about what we have. We've got Tom Cotton telling people, again, that they're going to try to flip this boat over. These boats are what, 25, 30 feet long? The right's been saying these boats are big enough. They're big enough to make it all the way to the shores of the United States. First of all, we know that that's not true. They would have to refuel like 20 times to get there. Two people who just got shipwrecked, a boat that just got hit with missiles, in some reporting was on fire and a portion of it was sinking. Those people are going to flip the boat over with the goal of getting back in the fight, so to speak, and head to America. Cool. And Tom Cotton also said they were in the process of contacting other narco terrorists. Here's a question for you. Since you have surveillance on the boat, that you attacked, wouldn't you also have surveillance on any other boats that are coming to their aid? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you also have surveillance on them as well? So why would you not just send in, follow the law, the Geneva Convention, U.S. law, international law? Why wouldn't you just send people over, pull them out of the water, and then try them in court? Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do that? Apparently, if you've got all the most sophisticated equipment in the world, you should have all kinds of people that are radar blips, right? Right? A radar blip that says, "Oh, there's a boat coming in." You don't think that the United States military would know whether or not they're trying to contact somebody? No, Robert, I'm pro law and order, unlike you. See, this is the spin now. This is what they're to justify their bloodthirsty hatred for taking lives of people that they don't even know if they're guilty of anything. That's their argument. They want to try to spin it and say, "Oh, so you're pro-terrorist." No, you're pro-terrorist because your president, the 34-time convicted felon, released an actual drug kingpin. You're pro-terrorist. You're pro-drugs. You're pro-crime, and you're pro-criminal. So again, just let's back up for just a second, just from what we learned from this little bit of sound that we've already played this morning. Tom Cotton, who's the chairperson of the Senate Intelligence Committee, wants you to believe that two people who just got discharged from a boat into the Caribbean Ocean swam over to the boat that was on fire. A portion of it was apparently capsized and sinking. Tom Cotton wants you to believe that those people by themselves in the ocean without anything to stand on for leverage was going to flip the boat over so they could get back on the boat, get back in the fight, and they're radioing people. You don't think the electronics might have been damaged in the missile strike? To me, it sounds like a fucking war crime in an attempt to cover up what they did. And then Tom Cotton wants to tell you that, and they were contacting other narco terrorists. By the way, there's no such term as a narco terrorist. That's been made up by the administration. And then we get the admiral also on the record saying, we have no evidence they were trying to contact anybody. And I got a note from my brother. Okay. The military is all about the UCMJ and the Geneva Convention. The military ID is actually used to show our Geneva Convention category code. Greg's a veteran. Okay? Armed Forces of the United States, Geneva Convention identification card. The United States, the UCMJ and the Geneva Convention are interlocked. We went through it yesterday. I'm going to go through it again today just to remind people. So that's what the administration wants you to believe. So I'm going to choose in this case, because what Tom Cotton is saying is obviously nonsense. So let's hear from the other side, then we'll break the tie, okay? So this is Jim Himes, who is a ranking member in the House. This is what he had to say about this zaniness.
Video of the strike that has not been shown in public yet. What was your reaction to that video?
The video was enormously, enormously disturbing. And I can't describe it in detail, but to tell you that the initial strike, as you might imagine, when a piece of munitions falls on a small boat, did an immense amount of damage, caused a huge amount of fire, and ultimately the end result was 2 individuals without any weaponry, without any tools of any kind, clinging to a wrecked boat, really what looked like flotsam. And we observed them for a long time, and the commanders involved said that they believed that there might be some chance they would be rescued, that there might be some chance that the cocaine on board could be recovered.
Okay, even if that were the case, even if you want to accept the argument that they could have been rescued, okay, you surveil the shit out of it. Are you now afraid the United States military is now afraid of 2 people clinging for their lives on a shipwreck? Is that what we're saying? You couldn't just surround them? You see what I mean? The entire story falls apart because, well, first of all, our friends on the right don't use logic. But I would like somebody to defend how 2 people are going to flip over a fucking boat in the ocean without leverage, with no communication, a boat that was on fire, right? Look at Bootlicker. Bootlicker thinks he's cool. Chat, meet Bootlicker. Bootlicker, meet the chat. Have fun with that.
Covered, but these 2 individuals, to anyone looking at this thing, would say are moments away from slipping under the waves. The decision was taken to kill them, and that is in fact what happened. And that was pretty hard to watch, I must say.
Earlier today, you told reporters that what you saw is a direct violation of what is written in the Defense Department manual for abiding by the laws of armed conflict. How so?
The example that is given in the Department of Defense manual is of shipwrecked sailors. You do not kill them because they are out of combat, incapable of further hostilities, and doing so is, according to the manual, a war crime.
So you're saying a war crime was committed?
Well, I want to be careful with my language here. We didn't get the audio, but that's sure what it looked like to me.
Part of the briefing included video.
So again, right? The entire, even the DOD's fucking manual says you can't do this shit. So the video of the first strike is available. That's public. We haven't seen the second one yet. Okay? So that's part of it, right? So that's the other side. So let's then, what I want to do now is I just want to remind people, because we've got Tom Cotton saying nothing to see here. These guys are going to flip the boat over. We've got Jim Himes. We've got, don't forget, Rand Paul, another Republican, who's been even more harsh, saying these look like war crimes to me. There's no evidence of anything that they've told us. We've seen Mr. Hegseth change his story multiple times. So again, I want you to hear, this was in that infamous cabinet meeting, the fucking Glaze Fest. This was the president talking, and along with secretary of the assistant manager to the assistant manager of war crimes, speaking as well after being questioned about this.
As far as the attack is concerned, I didn't, I still haven't gotten a lot of information because I rely on Pete. But to me, it was an attack. It wasn't 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes. Somebody asked me a question about the second strike. I didn't know about the second strike.
Okay, you don't know anything about it. You're the commander in chief. Shut the fuck up.
I didn't know anything about people. I wasn't involved in it. I knew they took out a boat. Pete didn't know about second attack having to do with 2 people.
Well, we know that that's not true either, and we'll prove it in just a minute.
I guess Pete would have to speak to it. I can say this. I want those boats taken out. And if we have to, we'll attack on land also, just like we attack on sea.
I have empowered them to make that call. Now, the first couple of strikes, as you would, as any leader would want.
So, hold on. So you've empowered them. That's good to know. Hold on a second. So you've empowered them, which means you gave them the order, right? That's what that would mean.
Strikes. as you would, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So
you have a lot of things to do. I'd like to see your schedule, please. You're literally in the middle of an active engagement with the United States Armed Forces, and you've got something better to do than that? Okay.
I didn't stick around.
How convenient, because the convenience of, unaliving and attacking survivors, shipwreck survivors in your own manual, how ironic it is that you left the room just before that happened. Yeah, nothing to see here, though, I'm sure.
I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do, and by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and in fire or smoke, you can't see anything.
It exploded, it's on fire, there's smoke, you can't see anything. Okay, again, Tom Cotton wants you to believe, in Pete Hegseth's word, that a boat that was exploding on fire and everything else, Tom Cotton wants you to believe that they could just flip that boat over, hop back on board, grab your cooler and your koozies and your Doritos and just head for American shores. That's what Tom Cotton wants you to fucking believe. Okay? Pete Hegseth gave the game away. It was on fire. It was exploding. Okay, cool.
Yeah, digital. This is called the fog of war.
No, it's not.
This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories.
What's the fake story, Pete? You're the one that's been telling fake stories because you've lied about it all the fucking time. Okay?
Washington Post about...
I'm sorry, I'm just going to play this section again. I didn't mean to interrupt, but there's just so many things in here.
Site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded in fire or smoke, you can't see anything, you got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all.
You could, what did you say, sir? You could shit a better host? That would be painful. Sorry, anyway.
And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes, about the judgment that they made. President Trump has empowered commanders to do what is necessary, which is dark and difficult things in the dead of night on behalf of the American people. We support them, and we will stop the poisoning of the American people.
Okay, be objective, friends. All right? This is what I want you to put your big brains on. I want you to be objective, all right? The President of the United States, okay, the Commander-in-Chief, claims that he doesn't know anything about this. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt because he doesn't know anything. The Secretary of Defense, the assistant manager to the assistant manager of war crimes, telling us publicly that he authorized this. We've got that reporting from, I'm going to see if I can find it, from the Pentagon spokesperson yesterday. Do I still have that? The Pentagon spokesperson saying that, oh yeah, the orders came directly from the secretary, directly from this is a chain of command. Nothing was violated. I'm going to find that. Nothing was violated. No rules were broken, and the orders continued. And there's nothing to see here. Who do we believe? Do we believe Tom Cotton, that the boat was going to get flipped over? Do we believe that the survivors, because they were survivors at that point, they were shipwrecked because our assistant manager to the assistant manager of war crimes just fucking told us that the boat had exploded, was on fire? How the fuck do you flip that over? How does one flip over a boat that is on fire? How does one flip over a boat that is capsized? How does one flip over a boat that's in pieces? How does one do that while standing or not standing, while trying to keep yourself alive? How does one do that? I don't know, but I want to find this sound because this came from the Pentagon. The Pentagon press secretary, as I'm not sure if she's the press secretary, I'll find out for sure. But as Pete has tried to defer, saying, we didn't give the direct order, we had people in the process, and we're just trying to do the right thing here, and we trust the generals and we trust the admirals to make these decisions, and they have the responsibility and the wherewithal to do so. So we're going to throw them under the bus, but at the same time, we're going to claim that we stand with them. So let me just find this for you, because I think this is telling, and this is the entire the plot is gone, as they say. They've lost the plot. Where is it? Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Because tapping is clapping, liking is loving, and sharing is caring. Indeed. Do I still even have it? There's so many. I've got so many clips. I'm going to have to reorganize. Hang on one sec. I may not have it anymore. Here we go. Okay. So this is, again, don't forget, the Pentagon now is loaded with people. When you have Matt Gaetz as one of the journalists covering the Pentagon, and Laura Loomer covering the Pentagon, this is what happens. So this press liaison is asked a question. Don't forget what Pete has said. I didn't give the order. It's totally fine. This general act, the admiral acted on his own accord. The president said, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Well, this is what they had to say.
The autonomy that's given to the commanders who are carrying out these operations, like Admiral Bradley, to make decisions. Like in this case, I'm assuming the first strike took out the boat and any actions that followed. Can you talk about the autonomy they're given?
Absolutely. So the Secretary has been very clear in every statement that we've released about these strikes that they are presidentially directed. And the chain of command functions as it should. And we make sure that commanders on the ground their positions are taken into account, and they are able to tell us and make decisions if they see things that need to be flagged. But at the end of the day, the Secretary and the President are the ones directing these strikes. And any follow-on strikes like those which were directed by Admiral Bradley, the Secretary 100% agrees with.
What else is there to say? They gave the command. Now, they talk about lethal and kinetic. Now, we could debate all day if it was kill them all, but lethal and kinetic. So if the interpretation is lethal and kinetic, that means you take out everybody. What story should we believe? I'm going to go with, in this case, I'm going to go with Pete, because Pete said the boat was on fire. The boat was on fire. Interesting. Mr. Nice Guy, it's so funny, Mr. Nice Guy. You bitch and complain about me every single day, but here you are. I know when you leave my bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're so sweet and you're so kind and you're so nice. And then you come in here and then you start screaming. And I know you like the shame kink, my guy. But, we should keep our private lives private. I'm just saying. Whatever. I don't care. Anyway, we've got this situation now, right, where the administration, through the spin machine, is attempting to try to say that this is no big deal, that these were enemy combatants, that they're still in the fight. So let's do this. What I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to play just a couple of bits of reminder sound that our president has recently said about this whole thing, because I think it's telling. We know exactly where he sits. We know exactly who he is, what he wants, how he wants to portray it. And the entire point of this administration is because they stand for nothing other than cruelty. And in this case, it's about fucking violence. Here you go.
The boat strike, if it is found that survivors were actually killed while clinging onto that boat, should Secretary Hegseth, Admiral Bradley, or others be punished?
I think you're going to find that this is war, that these people were killing our people by the millions, actually, if you look over a few years. I think last year we lost close to 300,000 people were killed. That's not mentioning all the families. Have you seen what happens with the families of not only the people killed, the people that are trying to get their son or their daughter off of this poison that they've been fed? I think you're going to find that there's a...
Didn't you pardon one of the world's most notorious narco traffickers? Didn't you pardon him? Are you concerned about that poison? Probably not, right?
Very receptive ear to doing exactly what they're doing, taking out those boats. And very soon we're going to start doing it on land too, because we know every route, we know every house, we know where they manufacture this crap, we know where they put it all together. And I think you're going to see it very soon on land also. Yeah, please.
So to be clear, you support the decision to kill survivors after the
No, I support the decision to knock out the boats. And
oh, you support the decision to knock out the boats. So the boats were knocked out. So what else was there to do? Okay. Just curious.
Whoever is piloting those boats, most of them are gone. But whoever are piloting those boats, they're guilty of trying to kill people in our country.
Are
Yeah,
they?
please.
How do you know that? How does one know that? But that's nothing. The sound actually gets even worse. So here you go. This tells you all you need to know about our president and the entire Christian nationalist fascist takeover of our government. People who don't give a fuck about humanity at all.
Are declaring war against these cartels, and Congress is likely to approve of that process. Why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country.
Oh, cool.
Okay, we're going to kill them.
Great.
You know, they're going to be like dead.
Okay. So then we know that over 80% of all Fenty smuggled into the country is smuggled in by American citizens. We know that. So is that what you're going to do? Is that the plan? And again, just watching the comments scroll by, you're proving our point. You're literally proving our point that you are the most cowardice, weakest, pathetic humans that may have ever walked planet Earth. Because you know you voted for this shit. You're bloodthirsty. You celebrate suffering. You cheer it on. And you just don't care. I'm going to play that sound for you again. This is the President of the United States. Does someone want to tell him that the overwhelming majority of schmugs that are smuggled into our country are done so by American citizens? So is that what's next? You're just going to unalive them too? Cool. Good to know.
Declaring war against these cartels, and Congress is likely to approve of that process. Why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're going to kill them.
Totally fine.
You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay.
Totally fine. Yeah, and this is the problem. We get people like this. We get people like this making comments like this that you'd vote for him again over Kamala. Why? You support unaliving American citizens? You support war crimes and corruption? You support that level of cruelty? You support a president calling a governor of a United States state using the R slur? You're fine with that too? You see, you think that's a flex. You sit up there in your safe little space with your Velcro shoes and your fanny pack, and you think that that's a flex. You really think it's a flex, bragging that you would still vote for him. It's weak. You should be embarrassed. You're not, because you're in the cult. You're not embarrassed at all. And that's a shame. Because I just want to remind people once again, okay? First of all, the fog of war comment. The fog of war, the key elements as described, not smoke from a burning ship, Pete, which again, thank you for letting us know that what Tom Cotton said is fucking bullshit. Okay? This is what I want MAGA to do in your hobby. I'd like you to find a 22-foot, or however big it was, 25-foot boat. Put 5 motors on it. Drop a piece of TNT on it as it is on fire so it capsizes. And I want you and your one-tooth buddy to get in a pond where the water is well over your head. It's 17, 18, 20, 30 feet deep. And I want to see if you can flip it over. Okay? That's your new exercise. I want to see if you can flip that boat over. And then let us know how it goes. So the key elements of the fog of war. Commanders rarely have real-time accurate data about enemy positions, intentions, or capabilities. Okay. Well, they seem to have a lot of information because they had it on camera. They knew all the information. They could describe it. They could describe it in detail. They had all that. Misinterpretation. Even when information is available, it might be wrong, outdated, or misunderstood. Well, they made it very clear that it was not wrong, outdated, or misunderstood because they claimed it was narco-terrorists. Okay? Communication breakdowns. Units can lose contact, receive conflicting orders, or act on assumptions. Well, Pete Hegseth made it very, very clear that Admiral Bradley did not have any. There was no breakdown in communication. He knew exactly what he was doing, and Mr. Hegseth supported it. Cool. Rapidly changing conditions. Battlefields evolve minute by minute, making earlier assessments obsolete. It was one ship. If we can surgically, in the dark of night, travel thousands of miles with B-2 bombers and others and drop bunker buster bombs on the nuclear facilities in Iran. If we can do that, as described by Pete, as one of the most sophisticated assaults in American warfare history, if we can do that, we can't control the flow regarding a single boat in the Caribbean? Okay. And then human factors. Stress, fear, fatigue, and bias affect judgment during high-pressure moments. Those are the definitions of the fog of war. Does any of that apply here? No. No, it did not. So why the fuck are the people on the right allowing themselves to be lied to again? Again. It's crazy how simpy you guys are. Your bloodthirst is wild. Why would you feel that way? Why would you want to be that bloodthirsty for nothing? Hi, Deb. How are you today? Can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. No.
Might be muted. Hold on.
Here it is. I got you. We can hear you now.
Okay. How about now?
I got you. Yes.
I've been on your show before, but I was on your show when you were doing the Friday night Are You Okay? I think it was, or something back a year ago. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I have a story about this whole boat thing. I hope it even makes sense. As far as, well, I don't believe anything that's coming out of this administration, first off. But as far as Tom Cotton, what he said about them flipping the boat and, jumping back on and, recovering everything, I just want to put this out there. I fell overboard in the bay off of a fishing boat. Not that long ago, actually. I want to say about 10, 15 years ago. I'm 68 now, so I was a little younger. But I was with some people, healthy people. I'll embarrass myself. I was peeing off the side of a fishing boat. We got hit. We got hit with a bigger wave that comes when a bigger ship comes by.
Sure.
All right, it hit our boat, knocked me overboard. Okay? We're young, healthy, on a boat that was still floating. I could not get up. I couldn't pull myself up off the boat, They couldn't pull me off the boat. The current was sucking me under the boat. So there's no way in hell these guys were flipping the boat, injured, grabbing their substance, and heading to
You're right, Deb. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I know that's an individual story. You know, it's a bit anecdotal, but I understand the point. I mean, I've been in canoes myself before with people loaded down with stuff, and it's really freaking hard to flip a canoe when you're in the water. But I appreciate you telling us that story this morning, Deb. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate it.
Exactly. My son died of the F drug in 2008. So this has been an issue. Forever.
And we you're right, and we need to get to the bottom of it. I think it's an issue that we need to address, but we need to address it the right way through crime and through law enforcement, not what we're doing by indiscriminately unaliving people. But thanks for being here today. I appreciate you very much for jumping in. Have a good day. We'll talk to you later. Obviously it's an issue. This is the problem with the right. We want to address the substance issue in our country. We want to do it a bit of a different way. But how funny is it that the Trump administration defunded the police in their budget? We know that's the case. They actually did it by cutting programs that involved community policing. So we know that they did that. We would like to address the issue. They want to unalive people. Plain and simple. They don't give a shit. They don't care about human beings. Period. They don't. Hello, Jen. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Same to you. Thanks for being here. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to say that I don't know, like I just jumped on like maybe 30 minutes ago, but I don't know if you play the clip where he admitted that they're no longer going to be arresting people, basically. Did you play that clip when he said, we've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find votes to strike now, which is the entire point, right? Deterrence has to matter. Exactly. No arrest and hand over and then do it again. The rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. I think that pretty much proves that Hegseth is just going to be like, kill them all.
Correct. I completely agree. I mean, lethal and kinetic. What does lethal mean, Jen? You're a nurse.
It's the opposite of alive.
Exactly. I mean, lethal and kinetic. If you're going after the boats, then disable the boat. I mean, we have the most sophisticated equipment on Earth. We couldn't just disable the boat and arrest people. See, this is where their argument just falls apart. They literally it just falls apart. They can't justify it because, well, we know that they don't care. They're celebrating the suffering. They really are.
See, I like to explain it like this. Pretend that there's a house down your street that the police believe to have been selling D-rugs. And instead of going in and arresting people and taking them through the due process, they just blow the whole house up and unalive everybody in the house. Because that's basically what they're doing.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's their approach to law and order. There's no law, it's disorder. It's war crimes and disorder.
But the thing that bothers me the most is when he says deterrence has to matter, no arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. That right there, to me, as a military mom, says, I'm not going to follow the law. I'm going to do what I want to do to make a point.
Exactly. While we are releasing one of the most notorious drug traffickers of all time.
Right. While we rinsed and released the other one.
Correct. Ross Ulbricht from Silk Road. I mean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just about brown people. It's about oil. It's about justification for their hatred and an attempt to try to deflect from the Epstein files, in my opinion. But that's just part of it.
All right, my friend, have a great one. I'm listening up while I get ready to go to my liberal job.
Thank you. I appreciate what you do. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks. Bye.
So by the way, real quick. So if you were in our Discord, I put a note out yesterday about maybe having to cancel the show because last night a tree fell on my house. Yes, that actually happened. So it was a bit. Nobody was hurt. Everybody's fine. I'm going to get yelled at again. I climbed up there. I didn't have anybody around to spot me, so to speak. But I did go up there, and I was worried about it being like punctured. There was no puncture that I could see, but I'll be back up there later today to try to fix it. The entire house shook. The dog's like, what the hell was that? I thought initially it was like snow falling off the roof, but no, but we're everybody's good. Thank you. I appreciate your concern. I really do. Yeah, it was wild. It was pretty wild. Be safe, Clark Griswold. Yeah, I understand. I know I violated the rules that I would always say, please don't go up there by yourself. I didn't take my phone. It was in the middle of the night. There's a foot of snow on the roof. Whatever. It was totally fine, though. Yeah. Throw some dirt on it. Yeah, that's me. Exactly. It was wild. It was pretty scary. But IZ, how are you today? Hello? You there? Is he? Is? I guess not. Progressive in your pocket. Do your thing. Valencia, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I have a question for you, or maybe you can help me be more empathetic with this entire drug situation that happens here in the U.S. You know, I keep hearing Trump, I keep hearing the Republicans, keep hearing even today the parent who lost children with drugs. We have a lot of drugs here in the U.S.
Let's try to use the word smug. Can we use the word schmugs or drugs?
Yes. You're right. Thank you. We have a problem, and we have a lot of the youth, a lot of children, a lot of grown-ups using drugs. The problem, I'm sorry, you're right. And
I have to ask you, I can't let you say it again. So if it happens again, I'm going to have to drop you. Okay.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So they're coming in and affecting so many families. Mm-hmm. And so to me, what can you tell? Because that's not something that I've ever worried in my family, nothing that I, have. We have our youth that are using it. What is America? Has anybody ever talked about what is being done for our youth or the drug usage? What's being done?
Okay. Valencia, I'm sorry. I have to drop you again. You said it again. Okay. So the universal health care helps solve all of those problems because we create an environment where people have access to treatment. Like, for example, I'm a believer. I support safe injection sites. That's something that I support. It's progressive. It's controversial, but that's something I support. I want to treat people. I want to treat the problem. I don't believe in what we're doing at all. I want like a humane approach to this. Give resources to communities to address it. We approach substance use disorder as if it's a violent crime. Now, people that are addicted, all kinds of things can happen, but it's not the single reason. Like people claim that people are houseless because of substance use disorder. Now, that's true in some cases, but people also turn to that based on their circumstances. I believe in treating the problem, addressing it at the street level, mental health clinics. Universal health care, again, is one of those things that solves these problems, right? There's no perfect solution. There's no silver bullet, but we've never been able to address it the way that we should. Like I don't look at our criminal justice system does not respond to situations like this. They approach it criminally. Okay. Now we have laws. I get it, but I would rather have a law enforcement with resources who specialize in mental health distress and whatever else it is, and allow that process to take care of itself. It's never perfect. But again, yeah, preventative mental health. That's what I want. That's what we all should want. That would be a way to address the problem. It's not going to solve everything. But any change, any positive change that we can make, we're going to get into some fundamental difference about what you stand for, like fundamental differences, right? Things like that. I see Jen again. I'll bring her back up. I want to talk to the nurse because the nurse would know.
Back.
Well, I just wanted to say that I've actually done a lot of research on this because we deal with this a lot in the intensive care unit. I would say that the overwhelming majority, not all of it, the overwhelming majority of people that use the D-rugs, okay, are people that are trying to cope. They're using this as an escape to not feel their feelings from something that has happened to them, traumatic, something like that. They just want to escape. Right. And so what you're saying is so important because they go to jail, they go to prison. There's absolutely no therapy there. They have groups, but they don't have individual therapy where they can unload the trauma, unload and learn to work through it and learn new coping mechanisms so that they don't have to turn to these substances to do that. Now, of course, there are people that like have terrible back surgeries and so forth that get on medications and then they inadvertently get addicted or dependent, I like to say, because it's not really addiction, it's dependence. And those people need special treatment from a pain management person to wean them off of those because they're just become physically dependent on it. But statistics show that if you treat the underlying psychological trauma that's causing them to want to escape and learn new coping mechanisms, they're less likely to relapse. The safe needles that you were talking about, that has significantly reduced the amount of Hep C, HIV, and so forth. In addition to what people don't understand, there's skin abscesses, infections, sepsis that causes people to end up in the hospital and intensive care units. Those kind of things don't encourage D-rug use. They help the health system become unburdened of the consequences of dirty use. And so, going to the core is really the issue of like, why are you using? What are you escaping from? How can we give you new coping mechanisms? That is really the point. So that people I have worked through my issues. I never turn to those things, even though I could easily go to that. But it's because I have the coping skills. Just because they're there doesn't mean you're going to use them, right? It's a whole process.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad you said it the way that you said it because, what we're talking about is trying to treat it or, whether it be alcoholism, drug addiction, whatever it might be, in a humane way to try to help people as opposed to punish people. Right. And that's a fundamental difference. We're talking about what you stand for. It's like compassion. Like, I don't know if safe injection sites are controversial anymore. I mean, it seems like they are. But as you just described, it's something that helps people. Let's address it. Again, I know you know this, Jen. Universal healthcare helps address all these things. It addresses all these things. A humane approach to healthcare to help people with issues. We don't want dependency on pharmaceuticals, and we don't want we want to address addiction. Then let's do it by giving people the resources to proactively take care of their mental health and their physical health. But we don't do that here.
Right. And that's, with those patients, you end up having them turning to street D-rugs because they can't get the pain medications that they need because the insurance isn't going to cover it. The doctors won't prescribe it anymore. And then you have just this whole cycle thing. My uncle is a social worker up in Toronto, and he used to go out at nighttime when he was younger and give out free needles, clean needles. He used to go with the clinics to address the skin issues and the medication, and it brought down the cost in the hospitals and the government like a huge amount of money because people weren't getting sick. They didn't need to come to the emergency room, and it unburdened the whole healthcare system by doing it. So, it's people that think it's just the people bringing it in is the problem are ignorant. Because if you can teach somebody, hey, I know they're there, but I don't need to use it, then you've eliminated the market, basically.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, people who don't have insurance, they may be prescribed. I think that's a whole another issue about over prescribing opioids and things like that. The diabolical pharmaceutical industry, they're going to find a way to self-soothe any way they can, right?
Right. So when these men come up here and start blaming the women and denying in their stories and refusing to believe them, like even after they've proved their case in a court of law, that's triggering somebody to be, dependent on something to cope with the feelings that they've been through that traumatic event. So if you want people to stop, then stop victim blaming.
Well said. Well said. Thank you for the double up this morning, Jen. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
Love
See you
ya.
later.
Bye.
I love you too. Bye. Which is right. I mean, let's speak to the medical professionals, right? It's just a fundamental difference of how we look at society. You know, I want to help people. We want to help people. We've got a society that can do that. We're the richest nation on earth. We can certainly do all these things. But there's 77 million Americans or so who are bloodthirsty, who just will believe whatever satisfies their most primal urges. The president of the United States saying, we'll just kill him. Pete Hegseth saying, we'll lethal and kinetic. People celebrating it. Like they're getting off on it. You heard Tom Cotton. It's like laughing when they bring it up, right? A member of Republican leadership just the other day, standing up behind the dais with Mike Johnson during an interview, when one of the reporters asked any comments on what the president said using the R slur in reference to Tim Walz, and this person was laughing. So again, what do you stand for? And I can guarantee you, if we get some MAGA will come up here today and I'll ask the question, they'll be like, I stand for, patriotism and I stand for, this. They can't be specific, because what happens when you get specific is you say, if you care about healthcare, then why do you vote Republican? Or if you care about the rule of law, then why did you vote for Donald Trump? It's shit like this, right? So they can't. It's a difficult conversation for many of them to have, but okay, apparently this is someone I'm going to ask. Good morning, Danny. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. So you said you're MAGA.
I'm going to give you this disclaimer real quick, if I can. I don't, but it's like my second day on TikTok, so I have really no idea what I'm doing, but I'm loving all of the lives and people having these open, honest conversations. So I appreciate you giving me a moment to speak here. I'm from Iowa, and we get front row seats to everybody in politics. We always have, we always will, which is a great thing. And I'm a former Bernie that went Trump. So this is a very interesting conversation to me.
Why did you go from Bernie to Trump?
I went to Trump. To be honest with you, I was Bernie. And then when the DNC completely screwed him over, I helped get Kanye on the ticket here in Iowa in 2020. And then I went Trump.
Wait a minute. Danny, hang on a second. You lobbied for Kanye West to be on the ticket.
We got 3,300 votes here in Iowa. Yes, I did.
Cool. See you the fuck later. What? I'm sorry. That's not a flex, but okay. Again, I have no tolerance for that bullshit. Not interested. Okay. So let's get back to what we were just discussing. Again, the fundamental difference between people who care about humanity, right? People who generally just want to try to help people, and then people who are celebrating suffering. That's what it comes down to. Like literally celebrating suffering. We heard Megyn Kelly talking about that. I want them to suffer. I want them to bleed. Pete Hegseth saying the same thing. Members of the administration, Republican leadership in the House laughing. And then you have somebody comes up and you ask them what they stand for, and they stand for Kanye West? Really? Do you think that's a flex? I don't. So I'm gonna let Lawrence O'Donnell's been doing some really great reporting. I'm gonna let him I'm just gonna let him tell you. He's just wrapped up what happened yesterday. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. Then we're gonna get into a little bit more about how Mike Johnson apparently is my bitch boy, is apparently an advocate for women. Yeah, you heard that right. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Here's Lawrence.
First, they lie. That's what has happened in the American military after every war crime committed by the American military. First, they lie. Somewhere in the chain of command, they lie. That is what Donald Trump's incompetent Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did when first confronted with the Washington Post breaking news report of a second missile strike on a small boat that had already been destroyed and burst into flames after the first missile strike. The Washington Post reported that the second missile strike killed 2 people clinging to the wreckage, which would be a war crime in a war and is murder outside of war. There is no war in the Caribbean.
F1 in the chat.
There
please.
is no fog of war
Correct.
there.
Correct.
So Pete Hegseth lied
He
and said that everything in the Washington Post article was, quote, the fake news delivering more fabricated, inflammatory, and derogatory reporting. That was Pete Hegseth's first lie about this story as soon as it came out. Pete Hegseth himself has already turned himself in for lying about that, for telling that lie, since he has changed his story multiple times since he told that lie on Sunday. In Vietnam, the worst American military war crime of the 20th century was called a resounding success. Those are the words, resounding success, in the first after-action report of what came to be known as the My Lai Massacre, in which American soldiers commanded by Lieutenant William Calley summarily executed 347 people. And first, they lied. But 18 months later, Lieutenant Calley was finally charged with personally murdering 109 civilians. Babies, grandmothers, brothers, sisters.
Keep tapping, friends.
Mothers, fathers. When one of the soldiers, Lieutenant Calley, ordered to murder people, refused to do it, Lieutenant Calley took that soldier's rifle and shot them himself. But first they lied. The American military never wanted us to know that story. And when the suspicions built about a possible war crime, the lying didn't stop immediately. The lying does not stop immediately in these cases. But based on the American military's history of lying about war crimes, the American military has earned exactly zero credibility to any defense or offered about a possible war crime if that defense does not include evidence. And that's for war crimes. What about crimes committed outside of war?
Yeah, where's the war?
Ryan Goodman is now a professor of law at NYU who served as a legal counsel in the Pentagon in 2015 and 2016. He told the New York Times today, focusing on the shipwrecked is a distraction insofar as it suggests everything else preceding and after that strike was all legitimate. Even under a law of armed conflict, they were all civilians. And we are not actually in armed conflict either way. It was all murder. All murder. That is the considered opinion of a legal expert on this matter. Today, the admiral in command of the mission met privately with the Republican and Democratic leaders of the House and Senate committees with some jurisdiction over this matter. House and Senate Armed Services Committee, the House and Senate Intelligence Committee, the House and Senate Appropriations Committee, including the Appropriations Subcommittees on Defense. Of the 6 Republicans who were offered that briefing today, only one of them stepped up to a microphone afterwards to offer what he saw in the video of the second strike that targeted for murder 2 people clinging to the wreckage of what used to be a small boat and was just debris at that point. Republican Senator Tom Cotton,
has testified,
the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, believes that the 2 people clinging to the wreckage, in his view, needed to be killed.
I saw 2 survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs down for the United States, back up.
So a boat loaded down with schmocaine, apparently, allegedly, flipped. And, okay, I've been through that. Doesn't matter.
over so they could stay in the fight, and potentially, given all the context we heard, of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. And just like you would blow up a boat off of the Somali coast or the Yemeni coast, and you'd come back and strike it again if it still had terrorists and it still had explosives or missiles, Admiral Bradley and Secretary Hegseth did exactly what we would expect them to do. Of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. And just like you would blow up a boat off of the Somali coast or the Yemeni coast, and you'd come back and strike it again if it still had terrorists and it still had explosives or missiles, Admiral Bradley.
Did this boat have missiles? No. Nope. They didn't. It did not. There's none of that, Tom. None of it.
Secretary Hegseth did exactly what we would expect them to do.
No terrorists were killed in that attack.
Mm-hmm.
No other Republican who was briefed today offered a specific defense of what they saw when they were shown the video of the second attack killing those two people clinging to the wreckage.
Mm-hmm.
Every Democrat who saw that video of the second missile attack today said they found it deeply disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, made it very clear that Pete Hegseth was lying when he claimed that the second strike occurred during what Hegseth called the fog of war.
Right.
It turns out there was no war and there was no fog.
No.
First of all, we need to be clear. There was no fog of war.
Correct.
They had a clear vision of these two people on top of what was left of their capsized boat for quite a while. I think it was somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour after the initial strike. So they could see clearly what was going on. First. Second, I saw Senator Cotton say that the two gentlemen were trying to turn their boat back up, I guess. That is patently ridiculous. That boat wasn't going anywhere. And by the way, that's not the justification that Admiral Bradley even offered. So it's two people sitting on a tiny little portion of a boat sticking out of the water that's capsized.
In the first report of this incident by the Washington Post.
Exactly. Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. But people, there are certain creators on this app that are playing the Tom Cotton sound as if it's the truth, as if it's fucking real, right? Once again, when you are lied to on the daily, you accept lies, and because of your worst characteristics as a human show up, you become bloodthirsty too, because you will accept it's justified, and you'll try to spin it. Try to say, well, you libs, you support drugs coming into the country. Nope, we don't. We just like to follow the fucking law. Plain and fucking simple. Okay? Plain and simple. And again, you're right, 45 minutes to an hour. 45 minutes to an hour later. Why had they not flipped the boat by then? Interesting, right? Yeah.
Admiral Bradley was as fully implicated in the order to kill those two people as Pete Hegseth was.
Correct.
The Washington Post reported the commander overseeing the operation from Fort Bragg in North Carolina, Admiral Frank M. Mitch Bradley, told people on the secure conference call that the survivors were still legitimate targets because they could theoretically call other traffickers to retrieve them and their cargo, according to two people. He ordered the second strike to fulfill Hegseth's directive that everyone must be killed.
Just real quick, I read to you a portion of that reporting this morning from that same testimony. Let's see, two men unalived in a controversial double tap U.S. military strike on a suspected trafficking vessel in September did not have a radio or any other means of communication. The senior commander overseeing the operation told lawmakers. Admiral Bradley, who ran Joint Special Ops Command at the time, delivered the update in closed-door briefings viewed by lawmakers from both parties. In the same briefing, he said that. Okay, I just want to make sure that we're speaking the truth here, because that's what we do.
If Admiral Bradley told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth today in his discussions with congressional leaders, which was not under oath, he will be the first military commander suspected of involvement in illegal killing who immediately told the full truth in his very first secret discussions about the incident.
Interesting.
The only video we can show you of Admiral Bradley speaking to Congress is from his Senate confirmation hearing.
I pledge, and I believe that throughout time we have always worked as an integrated interagency to be able to bring the multiple levers of influence and power that the U.S. needs to achieve its policy objectives. And if confirmed, I would pledge to continue that.
Okay.
If the Republican-controlled committees in the House and Senate conduct real investigations of this incident, Admiral Bradley will face more difficult questions next time he testifies to Congress under oath on television. No matter what evidence comes out in this case, there will be defenders of every missile Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and Admiral Bradley have fired at every person they have killed on every one of those very small boats.
Correct.
When Seymour Hersh began his investigative reporting on the My Lai massacre in 1969, he found defenders of Lieutenant Calley everywhere. One officer told Seymour Hersh, he's a good soldier. He followed orders. There was no amount of evidence that could change the minds of Lieutenant Calley's defenders in the American military and outside of the American military. And that's what will happen this time. No matter what we see on that video, there will be people like Tom Cotton telling us that they saw something else.
Correct.
The criminal charge against Lieutenant Calley.
Correct.
Was that he committed premeditated murder.
Correct.
Of 109, quote, Oriental human beings whose names and sex are unknown.
Yeah, I mean, let's I'm going to level set. There's not really much else to the story to kind of cover. I'll stop it there. One of the things that Lawrence talked about, and I mentioned this before, is that it's not under oath. He just came to brief people. There was no public statements. He was not under oath. I'm not going to sit here and accuse this admiral of lying. But when pressed, and how come Tom Cotton didn't talk about this point, where again during the same hearing he said that they did not have a radio or any other means of communication, the senior commander overseeing the operation told lawmakers. Okay? So then when you take the oath, I would hope the fuck that somebody questioning him will reference that statement. So you can't have it both ways. Are we to believe Tom Cotton? Are we to believe Tom Cotton when he says, what I saw were two people who literally just got, torpedoed out of this boat? Pieces of the boat floating that were capsized, shipwrecked, right? You're right. I agree, Joe Best. It doesn't matter because it's still a crime even before that. You're absolutely right. I completely agree with you. But that's what they want you to believe. That's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that that's what was going to happen. And again, we've got our friends on the right using that as their source of truth instead of the president saying, kill them all. Pete Hegseth saying the boat was on fire, destroy, blah, blah, fucking blah, that it was on fire, and yet somehow that boat was going to get flipped over. Okay? I used to canoe and kayak all the time. Would go by myself, whatever, with friends, and I definitely have capsized boats before. And it is not an easy thing to do, especially if the water is over your head. Now, if you're in shallow water, you've got leverage. You can flip the boat, you drink, you bail it out, you move on. But have you ever had a boat capsize? Just let fucking logic tell you. How the fuck would you flip it over? It's on fire. Pete Hegseth himself admitted when he came back and saw it burning. How the fuck does that even happen? This is why we tell the people on the right that they are so fucking indoctrinated. They can't even think about this other than it's politicization. It's fake news. It's fucking wild. Like what? I know, while swimming, after literally they're probably injured, They burned? Who the fuck knows? But if the intention is to go after the boat, then why do you strike it again? It's just one big fucking lie after another. And I'm so done with people taking advantage of these lies and trying to spread them as if it's the truth. Hello, Blue. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just want to tell you, I'm in Arkansas where Tom Cotton is from, and he is hitting it hard with this story. He's being he's put like 4 different videos out on, the other app, and people are just praising it, and I'm fighting with them all the time, saying, think critically, guys. How are they clinging on how are they going to flip the boat over and take drugs to America if it's on fire, and where are the drugs if it was burned? And people are just, calling me a stupid liberal or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I want to tell you, Tom Cotton is being challenged. And we're hoping that he may lose his seat, and he's being challenged by a farmer. It's a woman, and she is a 6th generation farmer. And we're trying to remind everybody, that Tom Cotton has voted against the farm bill, and he's part of the reason, why we're, so many farmers in Arkansas are going bankrupt. So, but anyway, I appreciate you doing the show, because I take all the information that you do and I kind of write it down, and then I get on there and use those facts to argue with these people. So, I don't know that it's changing anybody's mind, but at least the facts are, like I say, think critically, people. How were they going to get a burned up boat flipped over and then back to go to America? I mean, it's beyond me how they don't even they don't even think. And so Steve, being in Arkansas, a lot of time, I mean, I'm way in the minority, and sometimes it's hard to get on there and put yourself out there because they think you're stupid, and I just kind of had to get over that. And so I listen to you all the time, and I get all the facts, and I just argue. And, I hope that by giving them more facts, eventually it'll seep in. And I don't know, but they are so happy about people being killed here. And there's a church on every corner in my town, and these people are praising the murder of other people, and it's just disgusting.
I agree. I appreciate you bringing that up. If you have any way to get a hold of this person who's running, I'd love to have them on the show to do an interview. If you know anybody in their campaign, if you just let me know, I'd love to do it.
I will. Her name's Hallie Schaffner, so I will message her, and I'll message you back.
Okay. Thank you very much, Blue. I appreciate that very much.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
You too. And again, and I have a thing for women farmers, by the way, just FYI. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. Actually, I'm dead serious. But again, just a little bit of logic, just a tiny little bit of logic, a tiny little bit of logic. How do you flip over a burning boat? Well, it wasn't burning. Well, but the sec of war, the assistant manager to the assistant manager. Yeah, exactly. Women farmers with boats. Real good point. Good point, Francis. Thank you. I don't have a lot of priorities, but that's one. Where was I? Oh, yeah. How do you try to explain it? Make them explain it. Press them on this. Please help me understand how a boat that was hit by missiles from the United States military, the strongest military in the world, with the most sophisticated equipment in the world. How would a boat that got hit, that's on fire, according to the Secretary of War, that's on fire, how would that boat get flipped over by 2 people who just got boomed? How would they do that? Make them answer the question, and I don't think they will. But press them on it anyway. Good morning, Fraudled McDonald. How are you today?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Outside of these specific details that we're discussing, I always like to look at things fundamentally. And have we gotten this lazy where we take an opportunity to actually set up a surveillance operation on these boats and watch where they're going and see if they're getting to the United States, and then from there capture what is going on the accepting side of the United States Why wasn't that done?
Well, that's the point we've been talking about. Those boats in and of themselves can't make it to the United States, and the route is between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago. That's the route. That's where they're going. They're not going to the U.S. And to your point, I mentioned this earlier. We've got the most sophisticated surveillance in the world. We can have the Coast Guard as soon as they cross into U.S. waters. You can have the Coast Guard interdicting the boat and arresting people. It's not that complicated. It's really not that complicated.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at here is I think that who's to say what is being carried on these boats? We don't know for sure. But there's some other underlying reason that this guy is up to. And I personally think he's trying to start something much larger.
Oh yeah, he's already said he's going to put troops on the ground in Venezuela, and the anti-war, no more foreign wars conservative party who bitched and moaned for 4 years about it is now suddenly celebrating it. Makes sense.
Correct.
Yeah, it's all about
so
oil.
is that his play to remain in office further down the road if they started a conflict?
No, because that would be that again. We were in conflicts. We had many elections. We had numerous elections during with Obama's election for Afghanistan, Trump's election for Afghanistan, Biden's election when Afghanistan and Iraq. So that's not justification. They're going to try. They're going to do everything they can. They're going to try to do everything they can, but that's not justification. That will get. I can't imagine that Congress, even as simpy as they are, would support something like that. Agreed.
Well, thank you for your voice and your intelligence, sir. Appreciate you much. Watch you all the time.
I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Be safe out there. It's a valid point. It's all about oil. It's all about destabilizing Venezuela again. It's all about the same thing. It's all we talked about. The reason that the drugs are the Mr. Hernandez was released was because of this Peter Thiel funded Prospera community in Honduras where they can do experiments on people. I mean, it's all part of the same thing. It's all part of the same. It's all part of the same nonsense. They're gonna do what they do, and we're gonna stand in their way, and we're not gonna let them. We're gonna remind people every day about how important it is, why it's important to do something, why it's important to stay in tension, and why it's important to support independent journalists. Jose, how are you today?
How you doing, sir? I appreciate your show. I just have a thought. This is, do you remember when they were talking about practicing on cities, bringing in okay. So they were denied doing that. So how doesn't this look like they're practicing war?
It's a fair point. This is kinetic, lethal and kinetic using drones and whatever else, missiles. It's a fair point. It's a fair point. It's again, they're just bloodthirsty. It's all about money. It's all about oil. It's all about trying to flex and be tough. It's pathetic.
I was just thinking about that while I was driving and listening to your show, how they were denied to go into practicing basically like strategies in the cities. And now, since they were denied that, now they're doing stuff, not even in American waters, outside of American waters. And it's just horrible.
I understand. I mean, what we've witnessed is the United States of America unaliving people just indiscriminately. Now, I'm not talking about. We've got a bad history of that, and we should never be absolved from it. But we're witnessing it in real time with lies to cover it up. I would call it schmurder. I'll go that far to call it schmurder.
Thank you for your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Let's just be real. That's what we're talking about here. Again, I want to focus on this, right? I want to focus on this. How can anybody with half a fucking brain accept the story that Tom Cotton told about flipping the boat over to get back in the fight? How can anyone with any fucking brain at all try to explain that away? You'll play the sound for them. He said he's going to flip it over. This is the Caribbean Ocean. It's not your fucking dinosaur dinghy in your pool. We're talking about exactly, Joe Bass. What fight? We're talking about the Caribbean Ocean. Okay? That's what we're talking about. How the fuck would that even happen, right? If your argument is this boat is big enough to go all the way to the U.S., then it's probably a little heavy, right? Maybe my guess. Good morning, Alan. How are you today? Alan? Alan, are you there? Okay, I guess not. Real quick, let me thank a couple people. Caitlin says, I wouldn't shit you, Steve. You're my favorite turd. Thank you, Caitlin. That's in reference to a comment that somebody made earlier. I appreciate that. Savage, as always, thank you so much. Appreciate you. You're awesome. You're supporting it. You support us here every single day. $2 a day challenge. Happy Friday. She's throwing down the $2 a day challenge. So, appreciate you guys. Never expected, always appreciated. Want to support the channel? Best way to do that is through the various appetizers, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Also, please don't forget about the merch store. Please, please, please. A lot of really good items in there. I think you might like some of the stuff that's there too. So yes. Anyway, the Democrats love rug cartels. Cool. Let's bring them. Hey, trustee, get in the box. Okay. Get in the box, because I'd like to show you that that's not the case. Okay. I would appreciate you just requesting. We can talk about it. I'm worried that you're afraid to do that. I don't know why you would be, but I'm curious because it's interesting. I mean, it's a bold statement to make from the cheap seats. Would you actually like to have a conversation about it or not? Probably not. I wouldn't either if I were you. Yeah. We like the law. We don't care about your talking points. Okay. Just so you know.
Hey, Steve. Hey, happy Friday.
Same to you. How are you?
Yeah, real good, real good. Yeah, somebody in the comments was just saying, like, I mean, and just to piggyback off what you said too, like, guys, this is the Caribbean Ocean, or the Caribbean Sea, excuse me, the Caribbean Sea. This is not the Korean Peninsula. This is not like, they've been in war since the 50s, okay? This is the Caribbean Sea. This is like, what are we attacking? Sebastian the Crab from Little Mermaid here, people? Like, what is...
Exactly.
I mean, and to piggyback off, and actually wish me luck, because I have an interview here at 10 o'clock, so wish me luck, fingers crossed.
Good luck.
Thanks. Thanks. So to piggyback off Arkansas Blue Nurse's comment, this is all propaganda. That's what whoever schmuck in the office is like, puffing his chest to his constituents. Look how tough we are. And they're just loving it. Like, you're wrong, dude. And I tell you what, when I used to live in Ohio, and you look on Cleveland.com or any of those, they just spin. The spin machine in these red states is just so bad. Like over here in Pittsburgh, the damn Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is like the Wall Street Journal. It's like, the highest level, Pulitzer Prize winning publication. You go over to like, Cleveland.com, plain dealer, it's like the National Enquirer. I mean, it's right there in your face, I mean, come on. So there's that. And the second point you mentioned, and, we were talking about like mental health and drug addiction or smug addiction, schmugs, I love you, TikTok shop, all that stuff. But that point's kind of passed. But to your point, right now, like our violent history of the United States, we were founded on violence, is playing out. The Trail of Tears, the suppression of women, the BIPOC communities. We are going after people, and in different ways, like, I've been come after, DV survivors and victims. This is just another playbook,
Agreed.
Trustee, you're a wimp. You're an insecure man. You're an insecure thing. You're probably a bot from Siberia. Just go kick rocks, friend. I mean, seriously. Steve invited you up. You're a trail of tears, my friend, because you can't get up because you're scared. Okay, so we're going to stop that. You're going to go away. I'm not going to waste my energy on you. But
and Gen X, let's be real. Trustee has never got it up. But I appreciate that.
Trustee's going to lose all his hair, have more like ED. So yes.
Well, I appreciate you jumping in today, friend. Good luck on your job interview.
Oh,
and let
thank
us know
you
how it
so
goes,
much,
okay?
and I love your content. Thanks always for bringing all this to light.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks.
You too. See you later. Take care. Bye. All right, I'm going to play a little sound from Nicole Wallace. Again, just the reporting on this, and I want to make sure that we're trying to cover this from all sides. I'm going to play some sound from Fox, so what they're talking about. I'm just going to play this real quick, and I'll be right back.
To military service, to defending and protecting
our country found themselves on Capitol Hill today testifying. They found themselves there largely due to the actions of a defense secretary who, during his 10-month tenure as Secretary of Defense, has done little more than seemingly try to embarrass the men and women of the military. Navy Admiral Frank Bradley and Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane were on the Hill today briefing Congress about that deadly double-tap boat strike in the Caribbean. Those meetings were held behind closed doors in front of a bipartisan group of lawmakers who have been demanding answers since the Washington Post story broke. They're demanding answers that Donald Trump's White House and Pete Hegseth have been evasive and reluctant to give, offering varying answers, shifting explanations in just about every news cycle since the first story last Thursday. Ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Jim Himes, telling reporters this after leaving that briefing.
What I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have two individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who are killed by the United States. Under the DoD manual for abiding by the laws of armed conflict, the specific example given of an impermissible action is attacking a shipwreck. Any American who sees the video that I saw will see the United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors.
Himes, after watching that video, also told reporters that the Admiral confirmed that there had not been a kill them all order. That video of the second strike, which Congressman Himes refers to as one of the most troubling things he's ever seen in public service, that's what he said, has the Pentagon facing growing pressure to do what he implores there, to release the video to the American people, to the public. Donald Trump was asked about that yesterday, about releasing that second strike video. Watch what he said.
You released video of that first boat strike on September 2nd, but not the second video. Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we certainly release. No problem.
No problem.
No problem.
So
okay.
That's Donald Trump agreeing and saying it's, quote, no problem to release with the lead Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, who says this is the most disturbing thing he's ever seen in his career in public service. What he describes as sailors in clear distress, that's his quote, what he describes as an attack on shipwrecked sailors.
That's right.
Something we have all learned now is forbidden in the DoD manual, spelling out war conduct that is acceptable and legal.
Again, it's in the DoD's own manual. So how do you spin away from it, right? And I'm just watching the comments, right? And obviously a lot are bots, because there's no one that would be that pathetically just ignorant to say some of the things that they've said. But some are real. The argument that they're trying to spin now is that the left cares about narco terrorists. And we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? They will try to justify everything that happens, and they'll try to spin it in a ridiculous way. Now, we can have a honest, objective conversation about a president's use of the military without congressional approval. Can certainly be. I was very critical of Barack Obama with drone strikes. Very critical. We all should be. That's the point. We all should be. Of course, George W. Bush and lies about WMD, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need to be critical of these things. But what we're seeing now is a series of lies, a series of elements to cover it up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just runs down the fucking, it's like, it literally runs down your leg. There's so much of it. And I'm just thinking to myself, we've got millions of people in our country who are celebrating this shit. On Free Speech Friday, as we talk about these kinds of things, it's a simple question. Like, what do you stand for? How can you possibly stand for this shit? How can you possibly be on the side of not giving a fuck about the Geneva Convention? How can you possibly stand for something like that? Instead, what you will do is you'll come up with an excuse, because you don't think anything, you think America can just do whatever the fuck it wants. That's what you think. And that's what the world is seeing now, right? The world is seeing what happened to the United States. Used to be about, again, generally speaking, the image that the rest of the world had of the U.S. was that, they care about the rule of law. Right? They have a democratic process. They have a peaceful transition of power. They have institutions that monitor each other. Three co-equal branches of government. What is it now? Our allies can't stand us. Our enemies love us. We've been critical in the past of just illegal, unalivings, and here we are fucking doing it. And here we are doing it and doing it again yesterday in the Pacific now, while all this shit is happening. Violations of the law over and over and over and over again, and people are fucking celebrating it. If you go through the right-wing spaces and you'll see the backgrounds and you'll have pictures of an exploding boat and people like, I'm making popcorn. Like, what? Really? Okay. I'm not going to cover the whole, the person who's been allegedly found or picked up on the J6 pipe bomber shit. I'm not going to cover it. Because I don't know, we've always talked about our rule in this space is rather be last and right. Rather be last and right than first and wrong. We break news when we feel like we are confident enough to share it with you guys. Last thing we want to do is spread any misinformation. Like, I don't fucking believe any of it. I don't believe any of it. We're supposed to take the word of Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. We're supposed to take their words for it? Really? Well, the only thing I'll say is that she got dunked on even in that presser, saying it didn't come from a new tip. And then somebody said it actually came from a new tip. So that's why I don't want to talk about it. Just the tip, please. No, has Kash been right about anything? No, he's not. The only thing Kash was right about is that he admitted publicly that he changed the rules of how FBI can use government jets so that he can fly his girlfriend across the country. I mean, it's just like, I'm not going to bother giving them publicity. I'm not going to share the story. We'll learn more about it, and when we're ready to share it with you guys, we will. It's just this one fucking thing after another. It's just one level of corruption after another. Lies. Think about what they're lying about now. Lying to justify schmurder. Lying to justify the violation of U.S. law, international law, Department of Defense policy, the Geneva Convention. I keep going to that because thank you, Gregory, it's part of the military ID. It's included that they abide by U.S. law and by the Geneva Convention. The Department of the Department of Defense, in their manual, exactly, Prospera, we talked about it yesterday, in their manual, clearly outlines what you can and can't do, and they violated their own manual. And the argument will be, well, this was the Biden era manual. Okay, well, then you're too fucking incompetent to change the rules if you didn't like it. Come on. ABC's, they said guys were attempting to complete their mission, another scam. What, Tony? ABC News debunked what? They said guys were attempting to complete the mission? I don't understand. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Tony. Do you think people trying to flip over a burning boat? Do you believe that? It's just like, what? What? Just request, Tony. It's just easier. Explain it. You can explain it from the cheap seat. Just tell me what's on your mind. It's just one of these things that what? Anyway, we haven't heard from Dan Bongino in a little while. We're gonna hear from him in a second, but I'll bring up Dean. I know exactly. While in shock and still swimming, exactly. Dean, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I've been listening for a while, and I was unfortunately couldn't get in on the discussion about that you and the nurse Jennifer had earlier, which was a great discussion about the ways we can help fix or start to fix the schmug problem in the United States. But I also want to remind people that this is not the first time we've seen this level of obfuscation and lying from a Republican government. That, I mean, the Richard Nixon administration with the Watergate cover-up was they would have covered that thing until the day they died, and if they could have. But you know, it leaked out, and we actually had people in Congress at that point that cared about the country. In the end, Nixon cared enough about the country to resign. And then we had the Reagan administration with Iran-Contra, where they got bolder in their lies and sat in front of Congress and lied and got pardoned for it. So this is just a progression of the Republican Party pushing it farther and farther and farther, and seeing where the border is and where the boundaries are.
And Bush with WMDs.
Yeah, Bush.
Right.
You're right. Bush pushed it even like the boldest until Trump. Just you know, flat out. Even people at the time, you know, that were in the know were like, no, they're absolutely lying to you.
Exactly.
And now we're to the point where it's just they don't care if somebody calls them out to their face live on TV. They'll just continue the lie.
Correct. Because, and again, there's no one to stop them now because mainstream media is cowardice and weak and they're afraid to ask the next question. So that's the problem.
Yeah,
right?
there are no Woodward and Bernsteins or Peter Jennings or anybody to stand up.
You're right. Yeah, there are really, really good independent journalists out there, and there are people who work for mainstream media syndicates who are good journalists as well. But in general, because it's all about eyeballs, they can't piss off the administration. They're going to lose coverage. It's ridiculous. Yep. Thanks for jumping in, Dean. I appreciate it.
Yep, I appreciate you, Steve.
You got it, man. Have a good day. See you later.
You too.
He's right. I mean, this is this cycle that we're kind of stuck in now, right? And I mentioned this earlier this week about how my concern is, do we ever get the credibility back for media? It's going to be tough, right? It's going to be tough. I really appreciate the kind things that you say about us and our team here from an independent journalist perspective. We care about this shit because we know people are getting lied to, right? Over and over and over and over again. Now, again, you may not like me. I may not be your flavor. That's totally fine. But we're gonna do you solid. We're not gonna spread misinformation, and we're not gonna spread lies. We're objective. We check ourselves constantly. Just last night, I was asking some of the mods about something I wanted to share, and they're like, "I don't think you should do that." So we made this decision together. Like we collaborate on the things that we feel are important in general. I kind of set the agenda. But if I'm unsure about something, I ask, right? So. Thank you, Angie. So that's important. It's important to us, right? It's important to us. Who would I suggest as a reliable independent journalist? Agencies like ABC News. Now, I know the right says, oh, ABC. ABC News has always been scored very, very down the middle, right? They lean a little bit left from an editorial perspective, but it's always about fact-based. What you should be looking for are fact. I like Straight Arrow News. I'm not sponsored by them. I'd love to be. I like Ground News. I like them as well because they're not... We got to do this whole thing on media literacy, and I promise I will. I guarantee you I will. But you're looking for accuracy in reporting. Everything has a bias, right? Everything has a bias. We walk around with biases every single day. Everything has a bias. PBS, NPR, CBS News, ABC News, right? I don't like CNN. I haven't watched CNN in years. I just don't like the way that I don't like their programming and how it's packaged. NBC News also scores well. The New York Times in general scores well. Washington Post has been doing some incredible journalism lately. There's a few journalists that I like. I really like Maggie Haberman. There's a few others, and I'll build a list, right? And you know, I'm when people say that they really appreciate me as an independent journalist, I take that with great pride because this is kind of what we do. We're trying to provide information, and we've got people who just live in this cycle of misinformation, and they think it's the truth. Remember. Propaganda, Rolling Stone, exactly. Salon Magazine, another great reporting. Propaganda, disinformation, misinformation. What we try to do here is fight back against the disinformation before it becomes misinformation. We all get propagandized, happens all the fucking time. You guys, because you're the smartest chat on TikTok, we force you to think. It's like, make it make sense. Try to justify this, right? Bias, you can't find a non-biased source. Everything is biased. What you're looking for is facts and accuracy. So I use Media Bias Fact Check. You can go there, right? You can find whatever news agency you're looking to review, and you've got the ability to determine what is considered factual and what's not. We know Fox and Newsmax and OAN, they're not honest. Pseudoscience, conspiracy theories, they push lies and disinformation, right? That's what they do. They're going to have extreme right bias, and they fail numerous fact checks. That's what the problem is. And people on the right will just gobble it up, and they'll say that our news is fake news. No, that's what projection does. That's what the cult does. Everything that gets reported on them that they don't like is fake. We got a lot of work to do we have a lot of work to do to continue to call out, irresponsible journalism, in my opinion. At the same time, we've got to find sources that we like. So part of this Do Something tour that I'm going to be doing in the spring, #Do Something tour, when I go out and talk to people, that's my goal. Like, what have you been told? Like, who's been telling you this and why? And do you think that that's true? Bring back the fairness doctrine? Absolutely. Do you think that that's true? Do you really think it's this, or do you think it's that? Well, here we go. Then what do you stand for? And then how do we get there? All right. So I just was curious, and I kind of went back and sort of just racked my brain a little bit about, what the two major parties in our country stand for. I've always believed, right, that conservative politics for the last 50 years has always been about prioritizing corporations, the elite, and the 1%. Deregulation to the benefit of the top 5% in general. And the left, the Democrats, have certainly done so much more for the middle class and public health and education, but they've not done enough for those groups. So that leaves the bulk of Americans outside of the influence of politics, meaning that we are subjected to what we have under the two-party rule, which frustrates people. So I just kind of put some things together. So ideologically, again, strictly my opinion, ideologically, what Democrats stand for. I broke it down a couple different ways. Expanding the social safety nets, I think we can agree. Healthcare, childcare, food security, the overwhelming majority of that comes from the left. Raising taxes on corporations and the wealthy, again, the overwhelming approach to that comes from the left. Support labor unions and worker protections, and expand affordable housing and student loan relief. Those are things that the left has stood for economically for the last 50 years. They believe a more active federal government to solve societal problems. I agree. It's the big government. It's the big government thing. Like the right claims that they're about small government when we know they're not. I believe government can work for you, and there are things that you need the government to do. And I believe that the prioritization of what we've seen from left-leaning ideology and left-leaning policy has been, yes, the government can help us with this particular program if we do it the right way. Tax dollars being put to good. I don't mind paying a little bit more of my taxes knowing that I'm going to get universal health care, because if I get universal health care, then people that I don't know across the country are going to get universal health care, et cetera, et cetera. Regulation of businesses to protect consumers, workers, and the environment. Yeah, that's true. Strong protections for marginalized communities, women's reproductive rights, civil rights, criminal justice reform, and limiting harsh sentencing, expanding legal immigration and a pathway to citizenship, protecting voting rights, expanding access, early voting, mailing voting, support the rule of law, independent judiciary, guardrails on presidential power, transition to clean energy, strong EPA regulations and emissions, and the green energy investment and climate-related jobs. I think it's a pretty good picture of what Democrats have stood for. Status quo. Now, you can throw some democratic socialism in there. You can throw some progressive politics in there to go a little bit further. But in general, in general, hold on a second. I'll see if he comes up. Tony, I sent you an invite, and I would just really like to talk to you. You're chirping. So if you've got time to chirp, you've got time to talk. Okay? I promise I don't bite. I only nibble, right? So just please. Anyway. All right. So let me get back to this. So I think it's a pretty good list, right? And then I did the same thing. I'm trying to be objective here. This is what I've read. This is what I've learned. This is what I've experienced from Republican politics. Lower taxes, especially on businesses and high earners. I think that's true. Deregulation to stimulate economic growth. That's a conservative economic policy. And the free market solutions over government intervention. Conservatives think that free market can solve everything. And it can't, especially if it's unregulated. Unregulated capitalism is a danger to us all. right? The government's role, what they say they believe a smaller federal government. That's not how they act on it. And then they oppose what they view as government overreach, mandates, regulations, programs, again, connected to the free market. This is about what I think these parties, our major parties, stand for. Socially, restrictions on abortion. Am I wrong? I don't think so. They'll favor protections for religious liberty over women's protections to make their own medical decisions, contradicting their belief set about freedom. Traditional family and gender norms, and then tighter immigration controls, border security, deportations of undocumented immigrants, etc. Democracy and institutions, states' rights over federal oversight, stricter voting measures, ID laws, limits on mail-in voting, and then skepticism toward federal agencies and the administrative state. And then they prefer domestic oil and gas and coal over innovation, skepticism toward aggressive climate regulation, and then opposition to many Biden-era green energy initiatives. I think those are fundamental differences, right, between the two parties. Like I said, to summarize it, the left tends to be more people-centric. The right tends to be more corporate-centric. I think that's the best way to summarize it from my perspective. Again, strictly my opinion, right? This is strictly my opinion. You have to ask yourself where you sit, because we certainly know through, 100+ years that the economy does better under Democrats. More job growth, more innovation, more change for the good. We know that the overwhelming majority of the things that are least on the progressive wish list are supported by the overwhelming majority of Americans. Most Americans believe that women should have the right to choose. Most Americans believe that we should have taxation that benefits the middle class and not the rich. Most Americans believe that we should have firearm legislation. These are all things that are supported by traditional Democrat policies, although, again, like I said before, not far enough. I don't want you guys to settle for table scraps anymore. I do not want that. I want you to demand shit. I want you to call out if there's somebody that you want to support and you're going to go to one of their rallies, you're going to ask for their vote, and they claim to be a progressive. I want you to ask them, will you advocate for universal health care? What we're focusing on, no, it's not what I asked. Will you advocate for universal health care? You want my vote? I will go to the mat for you. Then I want you to talk about it fucking publicly. Now, I understand. I know that that's a long road to hoe, but I don't want you to settle anymore. I don't want you to just be like, yeah, I'm totally good with the stale end of the bread. No, I want the whole fucking loaf. I'm no longer going to accept a piece of the pie. I want the whole fucking pie, the whole goddamn orchard. Just a fundamental difference. All right. So, how do Democrats, what we talk about, the rhetoric side, does it match? Yes, from a climate legislation perspective, passing major climate regulations, including those in the Inflation Reduction Act, expanded subsidies for the healthcare through the ACA, support labor unions, the National Labor Relations Board, pro-union appointments, etc., push for abortion rights protections post-Dobbs, and then expanded student loan forgiveness via executive action. I think those things are legitimate. Where the Democrats fall short, continue approving large and oil and gas projects, like, for example, Willow in Alaska and Anwar, right? I fucking hate that shit. So yes, have done a lot in regard to climate legislation. At the same time, supporting big oil interests, all right? This is how you be objective, MAGA. Pay attention. Tougher immigration enforcement than rhetoric, meaning that they talk a good game about the things that Democrats want to do regarding immigration, and for the most part, they approach it from a humanitarian perspective, and that's what I believe. If our immigration system was rooted in humanitarian, economic, and then family reunification, I think you could solve most of it, because most of it's based on how the economy can flex and humanitarian. Okay. They struggle to pass voting rights bills despite campaigning on them. That's true. Again, the intention is there. They can't get it passed because of Republican obstructionism. Criminal justice reform slowed significantly at the federal level, and I would agree with that, right? So Democrats, the policies that they support, for the most part, people accept, people like. It's across the board. I've always said this. If you took the names of the candidates and you took the blue and the red and the D and the R away, I believe most people would support what modern-day Democrats stand for. We've seen the polling. We know it's true. Republicans, on the other hand, they obviously push for tax cuts, and they do that, and those tax cuts overwhelmingly benefit the rich. Don't even debate with them, okay? Don't even debate with them. We've seen it. It goes back to Reagan, We're talking about the wealth gap increase. We've seen the destruction of the middle class. It's obvious. They support deregulation across environmental, financial, and labor areas. I don't think there's anybody going to deny that. It goes what they care about. Restrictive immigration actions, border walls, asylum limits, state-level crackdowns. They support for conservative judges who roll back federal regulatory power and other things, and then enacting abortion restrictions at many states post-stops. Right? That's true. Those are the things that they do and they have done. Where they fall short, federal spending and deficits often grow under Republican policies, even though they claim to be about smaller government and reduced spending. Populist rhetoric about helping workers rarely translate into pro-labor policy. They talk about protections for union workers, but they don't do shit about it. They talk about bringing back jobs, but they don't do shit about it, etc. So we live in a world of rhetoric. The question is, ideologically, where do you want to put your energy? What do you stand for? Do you stand for protections of union workers? Do you stand for protections for the middle class? Do you stand for protection for marginalized communities? Do you stand for protections, expansion of public health? Do you stand for things about promoting and overfunding public education? If you do, then you're on the left. It shouldn't even be the left. If you care for those things, then find candidates that stand for those things as well. If you're for pro-business, if you're for tax cuts for the rich, if you're for deregulation. Now, there's new policy coming from the administration about they're going to change, emissions standards on cars. Why? So that the auto industry can make more money at the expense of the environment. Things like that. And most people don't stand for those things. They don't. They think they do, but they don't. So we'll watch that, and we'll continue to do this exercise as we get closer to Election Day next year. But there's an obvious ideological break in our country, and what do you stand for? Good morning, my friend. How are you today?
Good. How about you?
All right.
Hey, first before I ask you a question, I'm going to ask you a basic question. What color nails are those? My daughter's coming over this weekend. She wants to do my nails.
It's I don't even know. I stole it from my kid. It's blue.
It's bright.
Yeah, it's blue. Don't know.
Right.
No idea.
All right. I'll have her pick something out. She loves doing my nails for some reason. Anyway,
beautiful. Love that.
There's no reason not to do it. She's 14. She loves to do it. Make her happy. And anybody says anything, screw them.
I agree.
So anyway, the reason why
it's called OASES. OASEAS. OASES.
Perfect. Thank you.
There you go.
You're welcome. Two masculine men with gray hair talking about nail polish. That's what I like to hear.
There you go. Agreed.
So I didn't request up to add anything to your conversation, but I did have an idea, and I was wondering if maybe this might work for you. Every day you come with facts, pun intended. And every day you say, we got this, we got that. This is what you need to investigate. I would love to see a live or a video of behind the scenes, how you get your information, how you get to debunk it, how do you find what is right, what is wrong. So then the people who don't believe you can learn that you're not just coming up here and spewing your own thoughts. You're actually investigating this. That's what I was thinking while listening to you is, what kind of steps do you take to make sure that you are speaking the facts and the truth?
I can tell you my process in general. My brain is always moving. So when I end our show today, so the business that I run my clients are all over the place. So my schedule is based on them. So sometimes I'm on phone calls at 10 o'clock at night with them because they're on the West Coast. I've got a client in Europe. Actually, I have two clients now in Europe. So my schedule is wild. So I work building my business, and I'm a small partner in another business. So my schedule is varied, which is the advantage of working for yourself. The way I look at news, I pay attention to the headline, and then I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And then I'll go to sources that I like. I often offer my own opinion on things, and I'm very clear with people when I say this is my opinion. I have an incredible team. I have an absolutely amazing team, and I could not even begin to do what I do here without our mod team. And they provide me information. They're like, what do you think about this? They'll capture a story. I'll ask them to investigate. And then we'll go to the source. We'll pull up a court record. We'll go to the government website, whether BLS or labor or whatever that might be, and then we'll try to connect the dots. What I feel, I'll land my plane. What I think is missing with mainstream media, because they don't have a 4-hour show to do it, is connecting the dots. That's what we try to do. Like, what does this mean? Why did we release the Honduran drug kingpin? Okay, what's going on in Honduras? Oh, Peter Thiel. What's Peter Thiel doing in Honduras? Oh, he's got this little island called Prospera. Oh, that makes sense. Then we go back to the beginning. Peter Thiel, heavily invested in the Trump administration. Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance. That's kind of how the picture comes together.
And you just proved my point. So, MAGA, did you hear that? He started from A and went to Z. He didn't look at a meme and go, oh, this is true. He didn't look at a headline and say, oh, this is true. He looked at the headline and went, wait a second, there's got to be more. Is this a biased source? Is it not a biased source? How do I debunk this? How do I not debunk this? Oh, okay, I found it on this site. Let me find it on another one just to collaborate and make sure it's correct. That's called doing your own research, people, not looking at a meme.
Yep. And what we also try to do is we also try to say, okay, this is the rhetoric. This is the rhetoric coming from the right. And what does that actually mean and how they are addressing it? Then we'll play a counter, and I'll play sound that might counter that point. That it's not easy. I can tell you. I spent a lot of time doing it, but it's important to me. So, yeah, that's kind of the story.
Perfect. And I appreciate that, because not only did I want other people to hear that, I want to hear that too, because you are my go-to person to get a lot of this stuff. And like I said before in another live with you, you're the way you do your research and the way you talk to people is a lot different from other people. So this is very informative every single day because you put the work in. So I thank you for that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you, friend. I appreciate you. And I'm hashtag girl dad. I appreciate you very much, friend. See you later. Okay. Take care. All right, bye. Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that, you guys. I mean, I really appreciate the compliments. It's important to us. We work hard doing this. I don't sleep very much, so I might get an idea in the middle of the night, and I've got a team of folks that I can count on to say if I need this, they'll get it for me, or they'll tell me don't bother, or I'll ask them like, should we talk about this story? And they're like, no, or yes, but do it with this filter. We're a team. We work together. I've got an amazing team with Greg helping me produce the backgrounds. It's a lot of work, but it's necessary because as Facts or Feelings just pointed out, there are people who are creators on this app who are on the right who just will share their biased headline. And it frustrates the shit out of me because if you just did a little bit of work and then you could ask somebody to think about it, right? And be like, okay, is that really what happened? Is that really what happened? Or what's the other side of the story? Case in point, people on the right now are running with Tom Cotton's soundbite. What did we do? We played Tom Cotton's soundbite, the right. We played Jim Himes, his soundbite, the left. Then we went to the source from what Pete Hegseth said. Then we went one step further and went to a follow-up story as reported by Newsweek, claiming that the admiral who testified said they did not have access to any communications. That's how you build a case. It ain't easy. Takes a while. I'm just grateful we have a 4-hour show. Yeah. So there you go. Sacred, how are you today?
I'm good. How you doing, Steve?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to point out that hate, bigotry, and schmurder are the foundation that this country was built on. So I don't understand why everybody's so surprised that the government's trying to take us back to the fundamentals of the old days. Why are we surprised? This is how this country was built.
Point.
Like,
good point.
Ever since I learned the history of this country, I've seen this coming. I thought that as soon as we started to move in a direction where love and equality could have taken root, that somebody was going to come in and try to ruin it. And everybody's all surprised. Like, oh, that's not what this country's about. You guys, that's how it was built. That's how this country got so quote unquote great. By murdering all the indigenous people, enslaving people to help them get rich. You know what I mean? When they wrote the Declaration of Independence, it excluded 90% of the population.
It did indeed.
So,
I mean, think about our history. We had to have the Emancipation Proclamation. That didn't work. We needed the 13th Amendment. because that wasn't enough. We needed the 14th Amendment because that wasn't enough. We needed the 15th Amendment because that wasn't enough. We needed the Civil Rights Act. We needed the Voting Rights Act. So, yeah, you're right. You're right.
And, I mean, I didn't have very much else to say. I just wanted to point that out.
No, you hit the nail right on the head. I appreciate you for jumping in today, and thank you for your support of the show.
I
Have a good
appreciate
day.
you, Steve.
You got it. Be safe out there. Yeah, this is kind of what we want to fucking fix. This is the whole point of doing something, okay? This is the whole point behind it. That's why I encourage you guys every day, like I'm a broken fucking record. Please, we got to stop being apathetic and lazy. We've got to stop feeling entitled. We got to fight for this fucking shit. What kind of country do you want? Do you want this? Dignity, peace, courage, respect, honesty, honor, integrity, compassion? Or do you want to be celebrating unaliving people in the Caribbean Ocean and or cheering that Donald Trump used the R slur when talking about a fellow citizen? It's pretty simple. To me, it's a simple choice. Good morning, Drew. How are you, friend?
I'm great. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good, man.
Good. I'm glad it's the weekend. So. But beyond that, Sacred nailed it on the head just now. This movement, this cult, gives it away in the name. Make America great again. I have yet to have anybody explain to me what the again is. Like, when are we going back to exactly that made us great?
And when were we great? And Drew, when were we great for everybody?
That's the point. Is that, everybody looks towards like the 50s and the late 40s as like the golden age of America, but it was great for a small percentage. People look back to like the 1910s and everything with the Vanderbilts and everything, and yeah, it was great for them. They call it the Gilded Age? Is that what it was? The Gilded Age?
Yeah.
But,
no labor protection. If you didn't fill your coal bucket, you didn't get paid. Oh yeah.
Well, and that's the amazing thing to me is that we're trying to go backwards. Like, the reason that we have regulations is because all this bad stuff happened to workers, to the environment, to everything, and even our economy. Some of these things that they were doing would crash our economy because they were being greedy and selfish and monopolizing all these different kind of things. They want to go back. It's this weird cycle. It's like, okay, well, if we get rid of the regulation, okay, but then we're going to have all the same problems we had before, and we're going to have to put new regulations in. I mean, I'm not against looking at regulations and seeing if they're fair or unfair, if they need to be harsher, or maybe you lighten up a little bit. That's a common sense approach to things.
Absolutely.
There are times when we've gone overboard with regulation, but
no doubt about
get rid of it just entirely like they're doing. And then you look at things like Voting Rights Act. There's another one, and I think you'll probably discuss it. I know that it's a tricky subject for you to talk about. Maybe Lainey could talk about it more on her live, but I don't know if you read about them rolling back protections for grape in prisons. For the
I heard that briefly. I didn't unpack all of it. Again, it's something like that. Why would that even be an issue?
But is there a better representation of the GOP than a grapist rolling back grape protections? I mean, that should be on their sign. That's basically their mission statement these days.
Agreed.
But
agreed.
That's all I wanted to say, because they give up the game right in the name of the group. It's right there. They're telling us what they want, and it makes zero sense to anybody that thinks, reads, has any logic whatsoever. But thank you for all you do, Steve. I hope you have a tremendous weekend, buddy.
Thanks, Drew. I appreciate you. Same to you. Take care. Yeah. Well, my weekend's going to involve taking a tree off my roof. That's my weekend, but whatever. He's right. I mean, and to me, it's not just the ideological divide. It's just not that. It's the celebration of suffering. That's the part that I just can't get past. It's like literally people celebrating suffering. And now we're celebrating blowing up boats indiscriminately in the Caribbean. Seriously, it just seems like it's like, what? Why are we doing that? Why are we suddenly doing that? Sorry. The mods are on their game. that's where we struggle, right? That's what when we watch this from afar, we're like, why is the president of the United States, first of all, using the R slur and so confidently and then doubling down on it? And then why are people cheering it on? I called out somebody and then they direct messaged me. And they said, it's a medical term, bud. I'm like, okay, sure. We know who you are. It's celebrating suffering. Why? So again, this is on you. All of you. All of you. This is on you. If you don't like it and you're disgusted by it and you've been apathetic in your approach to governance and politics in general, then you got to take some blame for that because you've not done enough to push back. And it doesn't have to be running for office. It doesn't have to be working on a campaign. It can be the littlest thing. Do something is anything you want as long as it's something. Volunteering in your community, reading to kids after school, standing guard at a Planned Parenthood, whatever that might be, or something even simpler than that. Find a creator, a black woman or a black man who's creating content on social media and TikTok and just going into their live, not commenting, just sitting there and shutting the fuck up and learning something. Learn what it's like to be somebody else. Learn what it's like from people who've been oppressed by our society since there was a society. And just trying to learn something. That will help us all by learning something. Right? Oh, actually, somebody just commented that. You think I'm kidding about that? Listen, this is the message that I got, okay? This is the message I got from this. I told this person, you think the R slur is okay? And they said, R slur? Are you three? I said, say it out loud, tough guy. And then there you go. There you go. And then I'm like, and there it is. And then for further comment, he said, it's a medical term, bud. You see what I mean? This is who they are. This is who these people are. And so many of people on the left can't be bothered by voting. They can't be bothered. You're looking for the perfect candidate, right? Looking for the perfect if it doesn't check every fucking box, you're not going to participate. What does that say? Like, what does that say? It says a lot. You know what it does? It says more about you than it does about us. Hello, friend. I just saw your note.
Hi. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, it's officially too cold for hunting season for my husband, so I get the car back.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yes, let's figure that out.
Okay, good. Well, first of all, it is not a medical term. As a person in medicine, we have worked for years to remove that term from any ounce of medicine because we know how harmful it is.
Of course.
My other thing I was going to talk about was my brother is a professional sailor, and he based in Southern California, and he sails. He did a big one called Pac Cup where they go from San Francisco to Hawaii, and in the preparation for that, because his client for that was like a Southern California billionaire, and they are required to train for like 6 months essentially before they are approved to go out, and they have to do all these drills. And so they're given information about how to deal with a capsized boat, how to deal with fires, all of that stuff. And I asked him how stupid is this, what they're saying? And my brother was like, well, I capsized on the way to Hawaii. Last year was when they did, because they do it every other year. And luckily our boat was built and it wasn't on fire so that it can right itself. But there isn't a way to do that unless you're in like a canoe or like a dinghy, maybe a dinghy. And he was like, it's the dumbest thing. And he said too, like, even if they were trying to flip it, anything like that, even the professional sailors that do these races have to follow the he said one of the principles is you go and you rescue anybody. And there are certain areas where they tell you, like, hey, because they go through the ships, the sailboats have to go through the shipping lanes, and they're told, like, this is where you go in the ocean if you need help, if an engine goes out, blah, blah, blah. And then there are certain areas where they say, don't pick somebody up or call in the Coast Guard before.
It's just nonsense, right? I mean, the argument is just nonsensical, right? I mean, there's no possible way that what they're talking about. No, I appreciate that perspective. I really do. And like I said, I'll message you back so we can make a plan to try to figure out to get together. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So even professional sailors, just dudes, get it.
Exactly.
And get this education. So
that's right. That's right. Thank you for jumping in. And like I said, I'll message you back. I appreciate you being here.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. I've got some sound from Tom Cotton because he's getting dragged now potentially, but I want to read something that the president has posted on Live Social.
Here we go. The Democrats' one policy push is the complete and total obliteration of our great United States Supreme Court. They will do this on their very first day in office through the simple termination of the filibuster. Should they win the upcoming elections, the radical left Democrats are looking at 21 justices with immediate ascension. This would be terrible for our country. Fear not, however, Republicans will not let it or any other catastrophic policies happen. Our country is now in very good hands. MAGA.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Don't threaten me with a good time. Again, I will take my chances with the filibuster going bye-bye. So what the Republicans are afraid of, friends, this is why this is really important for the Senate in particular. This is what they're afraid of. They're afraid of D.C. and Puerto Rico becoming states because that would mean 2 more senators that would be Democrats. They're afraid of that. They're afraid of expanding the court. They're afraid of that. They're afraid of being able to introduce legislation potentially to go after corporate cheats. They're afraid of legislation to introduce legislation to pass universal health care. These are the things that they're afraid of. So they're afraid of codifying Roe into law. They're afraid of raising the federal minimum wage. They're afraid of those things. Yeah, exactly, to govern. They're afraid to govern. So that's what they're afraid of. So then don't threaten me with a good time. I mean, seriously.
Hey, now.
Talk about wood. Let's go. That's what they're afraid of. In other words, they're afraid of democracy. So, yeah. There's that. Remember the sound that I played for you earlier from Tom Cotton. I'm going to do this because there's new reporting out now. This was the sound from Tom Cotton. Okay, this was when he jumped out of he was so quick to come out of the hearing and talk about what he heard. So here you go.
The second strike and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we would expect our military commanders to do.
What exactly did you see in terms of the video of the second strike? Were there survivors?
I saw 2 survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs bound for the United States back over so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context we heard, of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. General Kane made it clear multiple times under questions from me that the orders have not changed from the first strike to today. So the actions that our military took on September 2nd and the actions they took on a subsequent strike in which there were distressed shipwreck that were deemed non-combatant is happening under the same legal standards and operation order.
Was there a kill-all order from Secretary Hegseth?
No, both. Admiral Bradley was very clear that he was given no such order, not to give no quarter or to kill them all. He was given an order that, of course, was written down in great detail, as our military always does.
Okay, this is the quote. I saw 2 survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with schmugs bound for the United States back over so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context we heard of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. That was his statement. He was interviewed then by on CNN by John Berman, and how his story has changed. Here you go.
So it doesn't mean they weren't trying to access communications equipment on the boat, or that they didn't have any of their drug trafficking pals trying to come pick them up because they were just off the waters or just off the coast of Venezuela, and that's a known area for drug cartels.
Did you see any evidence of them trying to use a radio in the video you saw?
Well, I saw lots of evidence of them standing on the boat that had been capsized.
Okay. The question was, did you see, after what you just heard, right? After what you just heard, you heard him say in his little fucking moment in the sun that what I saw was them trying to flip over a boat and then using equipment, radio equipment, to contact other narco terrorists in the area. That's what you heard him say. Now he's asked this question. Did you see any evidence of them trying to use a radio in the video that you saw?
Well, I saw lots of evidence of them standing on the boat that had been capsized.
That wasn't my question. Did you see any evidence of them
trying to get it back up, trying to flip it over?
Did you see any evidence of them trying to use a radio?
No, I didn't, John. No, John, but they were clearly not incapacitated. They were not distressed. One guy took his T-shirt off like he was sunbathing. They were trying to get the boat back up and to continue their mission of spreading these drugs all across America.
Did they get the boat back up?
That's what they were doing, and that's why Admiral Bradley ordered the second strike. Well, no, they didn't, because we killed them, and we were right to kill them, and Admiral Bradley was totally justified in a decision he made. A decision, by the way, that was broadcast on multiple secure screens at the Pentagon and Fort Bragg, and that hundreds of people watched in real time with probably dozens of JAG lawyers. So what the Washington Post said last week was a complete lie.
No, it wasn't.
They owe an apology to Pete Hegseth,
No, they don't.
and especially they owe an apology to Admiral Mitch Bradley. He is a highly decorated career Navy SEAL.
No,
well,
we don't know
the
an
Washington
apology.
Post reported there was a second strike, which at first the administration seemed to deny. Let me ask you this specific question.
That's correct. Again, question. Did you see, again, the statement I played for you earlier that he said they were trying to flip over the boat? Okay? Flip over the boat. Did you see any evidence of them trying to use a radio in the video you saw? Tom Cotton. Well, I saw lots of evidence of them standing on the boat that had been capsized. Berman, that wasn't my question. Did you see any evidence? Cotton. No, I did not. I don't think there's anything else to discuss on that particular topic, Mr. Cotton. When you're pressed by somebody who really has the interest of getting the truth out there, you can't have it both ways. So you lied, Tom. You fucking lied. You tried to paint a narrative and you got caught. And because of your fucking nonsense, due respect, Arkansas, you got to do better. You got to do better. You've got to find more blue dots in your neighborhood. So one of my first trips next year is going to be to Arkansas. Arkansas, Missouri, that part of the world. Anybody know anybody in Missouri where I can crash? Probably. That's what has to happen. You guys have got to do better. You got to turn out. You got to show up. You got to fucking turn out and get people like that. And every single ad, I would be playing that sound. I would do the side by side. Seriously. Enough. Enough. That's ridiculous. Oh my God. I want just again, here this is again.
Doesn't mean they weren't trying to access communications equipment on the boat, or that they didn't have any of their drug trafficking pals trying to come pick them up because they were just off the waters or just off the coast of Venezuela, and that's a known area for drug cartels.
Did you see any evidence of them trying to use a radio in the video you saw?
Well, I saw lots of evidence of them standing on the boat that had been capsized.
That wasn't my question. Did you see any evidence of them
trying to get it back up, trying to flip it over?
Did you see any evidence of them trying to use a radio?
No, I didn't, John.
Again.
No, John, but they were clearly not incapacitated. They were not distressed. One guy took his T-shirt off like he was sunbathing.
Okay.
They were trying to get the boat back up and to continue their mission of spreading these drugs all across America.
Did they get the boat back up?
That's what they were doing, and that's why Admiral Bradley ordered the second strike. Well, no, they didn't, because we killed them, and we were right to kill them, and Admiral Bradley...
Got it. Just as a reminder, just one more time, just briefly, so that we don't ever lose this to history. I just want to remind people again what it was that this piece of shit fucking said, because that's why we go to the tape.
The first strike, the second strike, and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we'd expect our military commanders to do.
What exactly did you see in terms of the video of the second strike? Were there survivors?
I saw two survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs bound for the United States back over so they could stay in the fight, and potentially, given all the context we heard, of
coulda, shoulda, woulda. Now I want you to. I'm appealing to MAGA in here. I know you're here. You love me. You're here. You won't admit it. I get it. I'm fine. I'm not your type. I'm smart. What Tom Cotton is telling you when he speaks to you that way is that he thinks you're stupid. He thinks you are so stupid and so indoctrinated that you will believe a boat that just got capsized, in his words in the second interview, a capsized boat, which means flipped over, a boat that you claim is big enough to get to the shores of our country. That boat with 4 motors on it, estimates are, because of what they are allegedly tracking, weighed potentially thousands of pounds. It is what Tom Cotton wants you to believe is that people who just got boomed with a missile, tossed off the fucking boat, climbing on board the capsized vessel, that boat is a threat. That's what they want you to believe. Okay? That's what they want you to believe. The question is, are you going to believe it? Because if that's true, I've got a massive piece of real estate, including with lots of wood, that I'd love to talk to you about. Wow. Just fucking wow. It's wild. It's wild. Good morning, boss. How are you today?
Well, hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I was just gonna talk about how you said go and listen to the Black people live streams.
Yes.
I went on Thanksgiving, and they were so hesitant to bring me up because I'm a YT male, and they like brought me up and like wouldn't talk to me for a while, and then they heard me like huffing and puffing because I was at work, and all I wanted to tell them was I listened to them all the time, and I wanted to wish them a happy Thanksgiving, and they were like so blown away, like they didn't even know what to say.
Okay. What did you learn by just listening?
Well, that there's a lot of racist people still out there, and it's pretty terrible.
Yeah. Are you anti-racist?
Oh, yes, I am, for sure. I voted for Kamala. And
well, that doesn't mean you're anti-racist just because you voted for Kamala.
No, I know that.
Anti-racist would be you are actively pushing back against white supremacy. You are going into black spaces to learn more. That would be anti-racism, not just against racism. That'd be anti. You're actually acting on it, right?
Yeah. I grew up with racist family members that would say the N-word and all that, and it's like I evolved. It's like I try and teach my kids. I have a Native American son. I have a Mexican daughter, Mexican wife.
Well, let's not tokenize, friend. Okay, that would be an example of you not yet unpacking your shit. Because just because you have those things does not make you anti-racist.
Oh, I am for sure. Like I'll stand up for people like that.
I understand that. I'm as a white man in America, I don't want to speak on this topic. I don't know, Erica or Hector, if you guys are in the chat, if you're here and you want to come up and talk to our friend here. So what I'm asking you to do is to not tokenize. Just because you have a friend or a family member who might be black or might be marginalized does not mean that you're anti-racist. That would be tokenizing. Do you understand that?
Kind of. Not quite sure what tokenizing means, but
tokenizing means when a person says, when someone's called out and they say, I think you're racist, and they say, well, I've got a black friend, that would be tokenizing.
Oh, I got you.
The question is, like, what would you be saying when your black friend wasn't with you? Would you be laughing at questionable jokes? Would you
absolutely not. No.
Okay. Well, Okay, I mean, I would have to take your word for it, but again, for these conversations, tokenizing is almost as bad, to be honest.
I
Hey,
got
Danny.
you. Yeah, I got you for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so Danny, are you there? I saw you were
I
requesting.
am here, friend. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am just fantastic. I happened to pop in maybe at the right time.
Yeah, I was just talking to our friend here, and we're not going to dogpile. I just was trying to remind him about what tokenizing is, and I gave him an example of something that he did that was tokenizing. So,
Yeah.
advice from you, Danny, for someone who's really trying to unpack their racism and to truly become anti-racist.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm biracial. So what I can tell you is, I've definitely had people in my family on my mother's side of the family who think that because they have me as a cousin, they can't have any underlying racist biases that exist, right, within their thought process. And that's not what it means whatsoever. And the biggest example that I can give of why these things can coexist is if you think of back in the days of slavery in the United States of America, you had white slave owners that could own black people as property. They could still sleep with black women and have biracial babies and be racist as hell, right?
Right.
So it's really important that when we start to have these conversations, don't be afraid to recognize just the immediate default process that you might have. It doesn't mean that you are racist. It may mean that you have racist ideology that is, kind of in your subconscious. You've grown up around it. Doesn't make you a bad person. What it makes you is it makes you someone that has an opportunity to explore, hey, where did I get that from? And is this really what I believe? And like, that's what makes the difference, is are you willing to dissect the way that you are thinking about things? There's a great book that I would recommend. It is called Blind Spot, The Hidden Biases of Good People. It is fantastic at talking about just how everybody has unconscious bias and how it creates blind spots in the way that we think and stuff like that. So that would be one of my biggest recommendations. And there's also an educator. If you go to Debbie White, Debby White, Debbie Irving, I'm sorry, good gosh. Debbie Irving is her name, Irving. She has these great little like Post-it notes at the top of her site when you first go there. I would recommend starting at the one that breaks down the difference between prejudice, bigotry, and racism and how they are very different things. And that will be like the first beginning foundation for you to build off on. So those would be the two things that I would immediately recommend.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome, friend.
Yeah, I mean, Danny, thank you for that. So, Jam, yeah, we're all evolving, right? We're all working, and this is just I appreciate you just taking this kind of as a teachable moment. That's kind of the goal here, right? We're just trying to, we've all got these internalized things that exist with us, and it really, to me, it really, 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 really sounds like your intentions are pure, and I think there's just some things that we can work on, and that's why Danny, who I admire so much, to be able to give you that sort of that teaching moment. JM. So I appreciate you being here. Do you have any other questions?
Well, no, I just want to say my wife is half white, half Mexican, and her dad is a pure fucking racist, and he talks shit about Mexicans all the time. But he's like, but not you, honey, not you. But he'll sit there and talk about how Mexicans are this and that and shit, and it's like it drives me insane. And he's a complete maggot. That's like, what the hell? Like,
yeah. So I would say that she has experienced a ton of trauma. Around that. And I hope that she's getting whatever support that she needs. And this is when she has to determine whether or not. Let me ask you, Jim, do you mind me asking if you're white?
I am white, yeah.
Okay. And is her dad white?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Then this is where you get the opportunity to do the heavy lifting for your wife. Okay.
Oh, I do.
So,
I do.
yeah. So, but there's a way to do it because if you attack him, he's going to immediately become defensive. Right. And so that what I like to do is I like to ask questions because people they're not as defensive, right? So the question that I would ask her dad is, okay, so which Mexicans and how do I tell them apart? And how does your daughter tell them apart? Does it apply to her grandkids? Can you share with me what makes, the kind of Mexican you're talking about versus your daughter? And how did she get to make that distinction as a little girl growing up in your home her entire life? And ask that question and just let him sit with it, right? That's one of the best ways. So one of the things that I tell everybody is, what if you belong to the group that has the ability to do the oppressing, right? Then it is your responsibility to do the heavy lifting. So for me, I know that within the Black community, there's a lot of homophobia and transphobia, right? So as a Black cis hetero woman, when I hear that in my community, I speak up. I don't leave it to the LGBTQ plus people because they shouldn't have to do that. So if Black people could fix racism, we wouldn't have it. That's a whole white people issue. If LGBTQ plus could fix homophobia and transphobia, they would have. Nope, that's a hetero cis issue, right? So that's the part. So what I would offer you, and this is going to be difficult because you love your wife, it's going to be difficult to not want to attack or say it in a way that puts him in his place. But if you ask it like you sincerely want to know, can you share with me how you make the distinction between the winning Mexican versus the other one? Because we'd like to be able to teach it. And then just hush. And here's the key, JM. Once you ask the question, don't speak until he does. And I don't care how uncomfortable it gets. You let the silence do the heavy lifting. And I promise you will teach him more in that moment than he's probably learned every year he's had on this earth.
At this point, he just gets defensive every time I bring that subject up or anything like that.
Yeah.
And he
so
just spews bullshit,
So this is why I'm saying you don't have to bring it up. But the next time he makes that comment, then that's when you ask the question. So you're not bringing it up. You're not in an argument. He makes a statement, and then you get to ask the question, and then that's it. And just see where it goes from there. But the biggest way to make people, because here's the thing, try to remember this: when you say it, they don't believe it. When they say it, they do. So you ask the questions and get him to say it, right? You just walk him down the path to understanding. And it's not going to be something that's done overnight. But this is the perfect time for you to do the heavy lifting.
Yep.
Totally
agree with you.
Does that help, JM? It's just a different perspective,
Yes, it does.
right? And I think everybody in here realizes that we're all trying to do the work. And that's the goal here, because we're trying to spread the love. And I think the way that Danny just posed it to you is like, you don't have to put him on the defensive. Let him bring it up. And then with the amazing advice that Danny just gave you, you can then respond. Sound like a deal?
I literally bring you up on my lives first, like purposely when he's at my house, just so he can hear the shit that is actually the truth. And then he just shakes his head and shit, and he's like, what the fuck are they talking about? And it's like, what? Like, they're speaking facts, man. Like,
yeah. I mean, sometimes holding up the mirror is the best way to kind of move the needle, right?
Exactly.
So, well, I really appreciate you being here.
I listen to you every day, man.
Thank you.
You can drop me down. I don't even know how to drop down.
I got you. Again, thank you. Hearts in the chat for JM for the evolution of thought and how we move the needle. I really appreciate you sitting here and being part of this and listening to us. So thank you for
love you guys.
I appreciate it. See you later. Great conversation, Danny. Thank you for being here. How are you?
I am doing all right, friend. Doing okay. How are you?
Same.
Yeah. I want to kick the Supreme Court in the throat, but other than that, I'm doing great.
I'm not surprised by that. Are you talking about Texas specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised either. It doesn't mean I'm just not like, are you like, I think this is the part that the only thing that makes me even remotely like, is we may be getting to a place where Congress might start to clean itself up a little bit. And if they do that, we got to have at least one branch that's equal and separate. So maybe we'll get that.
I'm not, to be honest, I'm not as concerned because I was expecting, to be honest, that ruling from Texas. The reason I'm not is because they drew that map with the exit polling from the 2024 election where the Hispanic and Latino support had shifted more right. But since then, we've seen it go the other way. So I think it's going to work again. I think it's going to work against them. And because of the Supreme Court's ruling, the DOJ can no longer sue California, so thus saving taxpayers millions of dollars.
100%. 100%.
You know me. You know me. I'm always going to find the silver lining somehow, some way.
100%. 100%. And you know what? And that's the thing. So this is what people don't understand. Silver linings are resistance.
Indeed. They absolutely are. I'm so glad you said that. I really appreciate you, friend. Thanks for being here. Are you live today?
Yeah, you too. Yep. Live at about 11:30.
Okay. We'll send people your way. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being
appreciate here. You. Have a good one.
See you later. All right, too. Bye. Again, there's not a lot of places, being humble, not a lot of places in this particular space where conversations like that can happen. So I'm so glad that you guys got to witness it. I'm glad you got to be a part of it. And JM, good for you for evolving. That's kind of that's the entire goal behind everything we do here. So there you go. All right. So back just briefly to the spin from our government, especially Tom Cotton. Those of you in Arkansas, okay, this is for everybody. That's who represents you. That person is leading the Intelligence Committee. If you've ever had if you've ever been motivated to vote before, let that be something that motivates you. There should be other things. I am asking everyone who listens to my show every day. You know, we average between 1,500 and 2,000 people every single day. So say 10,000 people a week listening and hearing us. The only thing that I ask is that you just not be apathetic. You can't just turn a blind eye. You've got to be engaged. When I go on the road to do something tour, my target is people who genuinely feel disenfranchised. Not people who are lazy. Not people who say, yeah, two wings of the same bird. That's lazy, okay? Because you can't compare Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and say two wings of the same bird. That's a cop-out. For people who genuinely feel disenfranchised, you know, I just want to raise my family. I just want to save money. I just want my kids to have a better life than I had. And I just don't feel like the government works for me. Again, I'm a pretty good listener. When those conversations happen, you know, face to face over a piece of pie at a diner somewhere or wherever that might be, I really feel like we can move the needle. And I'm not talking about wooing millions of people. If there's 90 million people that didn't participate in the last election, so half of them, 45 million, are feeling apathetic. If we can flip 1% of them, especially if we're talking about Congress. Remember what I said earlier? Do you guys remember the number I gave you when we started the show today? For those of you who've been here from the beginning, remember the percentage I gave you? 13%. That's the amount that Afton Bain in her race in the Tennessee 7th this week moved the needle. 13% to the left. So if we're talking about 1% of voters being shifted, 1 or 2% of voters being shifted in some of these swing districts, all of a sudden that becomes so many congressional seats are in play for historically red districts. Estimates are 35 to 40 seats that the Democrats could win. I'm not going to get out over my skis, which is a Vermont colloquialism. If you don't know what that means, I can explain it. Anyway, I'm not going to get out over my skis this far in advance, but that's kind of where we are moving because people are like, this is chaos. This is absolute madness. So again, Democrats, the biggest mistake we've made is resting on our laurels. What could be a 6-point margin? I want a 15-point margin. What could be 500 to 1,000 new registered voters? I want 5 to 10,000. That would be an example of not settling. Okay? Thank you for letting me be on my soapbox. I appreciate it. Good morning, Brooke. How are you today? Brooke, are you there? Brooke? Brooke is not there. Brooke has gone downstream. Hey, Mew, how are you?
Hi. Hi. I didn't realize I requested. I was typing.
It's all good. Did you not want to?
I was thinking about something, but I forgot about it, so I guess not.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your
Thank you
support.
for everything you do, Steve.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Just a reminder, friends, we'll go to just before noon today, and I've got to get back on my roof and try to take that tree down. But yes, I will have support. I promise. I'm not going to do it alone this time. We are crowdfunded. You want to support the channel? You like this education? I appreciate you all. Best way to do that is through Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Everything is at Factsstillmatter. Let me just check in over there. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Heather. You're very kind. Appreciate that. Legal Talk appreciates you sincerely. Appreciate you very much. Thank you, Brooke. Appreciate you. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate you guys. You're awesome. I appreciate you guys. That's incredible. You're super kind. All right, let's do this. This goes to this number. Appreciate you guys. All right, another request. I'll get you in a second, Gracie. All right, so let's. I want to the reality of what we're seeing now, right? I think it boils down to a couple of basic principles. Thank you. That's kind of cool. What is that thing? A couple of basic principles. Like the entire premise of our show today is about changing the argument to what we're opposed to. Yes, we're all in opposition to fascism, but it's because we stand for things, right? It's because we stand for things. We stand for dignity. We stand for compassion. We stand for empathy. We stand for women's rights to their body. We stand for representation for marginalized communities. Those are the things that we stand for. An improved public education system, an improved public health system, an improved tax system. We stand for those things. When you have conversations with our friends on the right, they don't seem to stand for things. They seem to stand against things. They're against the things that we stand for. They're against women having rights to their body. They're against representation of marginalized communities. They're against the LGBTQIA community for whatever reason. They're against it. They're against for society moving forward. Thus, progress. Progress versus regress. Progressives wanting to move the needle forward, conservatives wanting to keep things as they are. That should tell you a lot. So in your head, right, when you're talking to your family members and you're talking to your friends, always ask yourself what it is that I stand for. And don't ever forget that. And then you ask them the same question. And we've done it on the show numerous times. And I've been sort of moving into this whole what do you stand for mindset a lot more recently. But the conversations I've had with people when I go to right-wing spaces, remember, I go there so you don't have to. You're welcome. I ask that question and you hear the same answer. I stand for freedom. What does that mean? I stand for the country. I stand for my pocket. I stand for my family. They can't be specific, because as soon as they started to be specific, I'm going to jump in and say, you can't say you support law and order. There's no possible way you can say that. And this is why. You can't say that you support veterans. And this is why. You can't say that you're opposed to the war on drugs. And this is why. Put them on blast, right? Put them on blast. Yeah, not for women, they don't. Exactly. I want the matriarchy. I've said this before a million times. I want our country to be a matriarchy. I want women in leadership positions across the board in every sector. The reason I want that is because I know what our priorities would be as a nation. We would prioritize education. We'd prioritize public health. We'd prioritize decency and empathy and compassion. Because we've seen it, we know it works, we know it would work, and I want to see it. And I don't know if I'll be alive to see the wholesale changes that I want, but you see people like Afton Bain, that's the kind of person that we want to elect. An absolute amazing campaign. I don't think this is where I'll put my political science hat on for a second, because I work with candidates. Some of the work that I do is speech writing, etc. You guys have no idea how earth moving a 13-point swing in a bright red district is. And why? Because she's sincere. She talked about affordability. She talked about expanding rights. She talked about protections for the middle class. All these things are so relevant to most Americans. As soon as you're willing to take your red hat off or whatever that might be. And she spoke in pure terms, simplified. She made it about her constituency. She made it about an inclusive campaign that's going to benefit everybody. That is a winning formula, and that formula scares the shit out of conservatives and Republicans because they can't compete with it. They can't speak in terms of pure. Because what did Matt Van Epps run on? Transgender for everyone. I protect women, men and women's sports. It's the same tired script. 13-point movement. 13-point. It forced Republicans to spend a lot of money defending a seat that they always thought was safe. And you're seeing it across the country. There is movement, friends. There is energy, okay? I'm never going to sit up here and say, I told you so. But that whole situation with the shutdown, my entire argument from the beginning was this is going to put Republicans on blast for solving the healthcare crisis, and they can't do it. And now they're going to have to fucking own it. So when the subsidies expire at the end of the year because they have no fucking solution other than go buy your insurance at Costco and Amazon, they own it. That's a winning formula politically. That's a winning formula. Yes, I understand the consternations, and I know people were freaking out that we lost all the momentum. We didn't lose the momentum. Not one bit. In fact, it's increased because the poll numbers for the Republican Party is in the shitter. Donald Trump's approval numbers are falling off a fucking cliff. This is a winning strategy. Finally, some consistency from a messaging perspective from the Democrats. Finally, some status quo Democrats being brave enough to speak up. You're seeing more progressives run for office. You're seeing more talk about kitchen table issues. Big mistake the Biden administration made is that, yes, inflation was coming down. Yes, we recovered faster than any G7 country. All those things are true, but it didn't matter because we were all paying more and they lost. And what does this administration do? The same damn fucking thing, only worse. Only worse. Because it's so fucking bad. So instead, all they're going to do is use the same old rhetoric that they think has always worked in the past that is no longer working. It's not popular to be blowing up boats. It's not popular to be threatening other countries. Tariffs are not popular. The economy is not doing well. And this administration has no answers. And Republicans know it. They know it. They know they're in trouble. They know they're upside down on all these issues, and they don't have a way out because they've never been able to legislate. It's always been about fear-mongering, gerrymandering districts, cheating, and lying. That's been their entire fucking MO. So I've got a little bit of, this is Josh Hawley. Now, Sam, don't kick me. But I agree with Josh Hawley on this. Okay, I agree. And I think this is an interesting take. This is about healthcare. This is an interesting take, and I think it's something that we should be talking about. Right? Here you go.
Why shouldn't we make healthcare tax-free in this country?
Why shouldn't we?
Why shouldn't we just exempt all healthcare from taxes?
Agreed.
We did no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime earlier this year. How about no taxes on healthcare?
How about that?
If you pay premiums, you ought to be able to deduct that from your taxes.
Agreed.
If you have out-of-pocket medical expenses, you ought to be able to deduct every dollar off of your taxes.
Every dollar.
You want to lower the cost of healthcare immediately? Do that. No taxes on healthcare for any American. And you set an upper limit so you don't have rich people gaming the system. I get it. That's fine. But let's think about working people in this country who cannot afford healthcare. What if we said to them today, we're not going to tax your healthcare costs? Does anybody on the panel have a reaction to that? Let me start with you, Dr. Fagan. We'll just go down the panel. What do you think? No taxes on healthcare.
What he's talking about, yes, I understand that elements of our healthcare system are already tax-free, but we're talking about all of it. Now, again, if we had universal health care, it wouldn't be necessary. But that's something coming from a Republican, as slimy and as fucking sleazy as Josh Hawley is. Yeah, we do it, but not to that level. I think what he's talking about is everything. All your co-pays, your premiums, your deductibles, all of it becoming tax-free. That's how I interpreted that. How does that help? It puts money back in your pocket. It's a tax deduction. You know, that would be an advantage. So your $7,000 or whatever the number is you spend becomes tax deductible. It's a write-off. just something to think about, right? Again, if we're trying to move the needle, we're going to need Republicans to help cooperate on healthcare. It's going to have to happen. And I always think about this. Imagine if a member of the Republican Party introduced an idea of universal healthcare. Yeah, you would have to pay up front. I get it, but it becomes a tax deduction at the end of the year, right? Can you imagine that? Imagine if a Republican came out and said, I have a policy for universal healthcare, calling it Patriot Healthcare or whatever the fuck you want. We'd have it tomorrow. We would have it tomorrow. That's how simple it is. I don't know what that would mean for people, but we'd have it. Mel, how are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, yes. Thanks for being here. What's on your mind?
Okay, it just occurred to me when he said that I already have that to some degree in my HSA, and expanding it would be great.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, HSAs are one thing, but that would be people. There's some people who don't even have HSAs. We're talking about the way I interpreted that.
But
no. I got you. The way I interpreted that, it was just like everything: your out-of-pocket deductibles, your co-pays, or whatever.
yes, that would be awesome. And I think we could use parameters the same way we do HSA. So whenever I go to the store and I buy something with my HSA, I have to prove that I spent the money on health care. It would be a safeguard, and I think that would be so awesome. I just wanted to say that. And the other thing I wanted to say, and I said this out loud to my phone a few minutes ago, I think you were talking about his approval ratings. Well, we as Americans have come to the clarity in just 10 months that he's wildly unpopular, but we didn't get that before he was elected when we heard all the horrible things he was going to do. It's mind-boggling.
I agree. Well, people are starting to wake up potentially. Thank you for being here, Mel. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day. I love the show. I watch every day.
Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, we do. Yes, HSAs are tax deductible. Maybe I'm wrong, but how I interpreted it was all of your medical expenses, your premiums, your deductibles, your co-pays, your out-of-pocket would be considered tax deductible. I know it generally benefits people who have money up front because you can afford to pay for these things in general, but it's a start. The whole point is, again, friends on the left, be careful. Remember, we cannot be looking for perfection, because if we look for perfection, we ignore the good. We're talking about potential solutions. We're trying to move the needle a little bit. So don't just poo-poo it because it doesn't make sense initially. The whole point is we're trying to have conversations about it. I want any and all ideas. I want to fix our for-profit fucking system and make it not for profit anymore. I want progress. Exactly, Heather. Progress, not perfection. Love that. That's a shirt, Sam. Progress, not perfection. I love that quote. We'll credit you. That's kind of what we want. The goal would be to try to make things better, okay? Make things better. Stop poo-pooing it, guys. Stop poo-pooing it. It's progress, not perfection, okay? Whether it's from Josh, I don't care who it's from. The goal here, friends, take a deep breath. The goal here is for conversations about things that we can do to fix our healthcare system. Let's not just shoot it down right out of the gate, okay? I'm not saying I'm advocating for his plan. I'm just saying at least there's conversations happening coming from, of all people, Josh Hawley. Okay? Excellent. Well, it's progress because it's not a thing, Joan. HSAs are tax deductible, but not all of it. Okay? You guys are friends. Have you listened to anything that I've said? For those of you who follow me, we got to stop looking for perfection. It's about opening the dialogue. You know, you might want to paint your house blue. Okay, and you might decide that, you know, I'm dead set on blue. Then somebody comes to you and say, "Would you consider this?" Okay, well, I'll consider that. It's a conversation. Okay, it's one step forward. It's just one step forward. Stop poo-pooing the idea before you even know more about it. My intention with these conversations are to say, Okay, at least there's some movement. Would you rather have no discussions or some discussions? I want some. Okay? Cool. Appreciate that. All right. I think I see. All right, I'll bring you up.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning. Good morning. Mod announcements, please. I'll be right back.
No problem. You know, mod announcement, I woke up first thing in the afternoon to find out Steve had morning wood. Who knew? Anyway, back onto my little shtick. Today's word, in British slang that I would like to teach you, is ASBO, which is short for Antisocial Behaviour Order, which means somebody who's a real annoying nuisance and they've got in trouble with the law for it. So that's A for Anachronista, S for Sam, B for Badumtis in the comments, and O for Oscar. Asbo, Dora Dew, you've got it. That's right. So feel free to use that when discussing with your family, or your friends, or your neighbour that's particularly troublesome. And yeah, keep tapping that screen and sharing the live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, friend, for being here. I appreciate you. Are you ready?
You're more than welcome. Take care. Whee!
Okay. Thank you for letting me, thank you for letting me be here, to go off on that little tangent. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. A few other things I wanted to kind of cover today, just because we still have the news to report. The economy, obviously, we know is not doing well. There's a new book, by the way, coming out by Jonathan Karl. Jonathan Karl writes reports for ABC. One of the independent journalists that although he works for ABC, I respect Jonathan Karl. He's got a book coming out. It's called Retribution: Donald Trump in the Campaign That Changed America. And in it, he talks about how when Mr. Trump arrived at the hospital after the alleged unaliving attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, one of the first questions he asked were, how's it playing on TV? How does it look? Okay. It's interesting that would be some of his first questions he asked, but it shouldn't surprise anybody. Howard Nutlick has been doing the rounds, and he is the economic advisor, one of the economic advisors to the president. And Kevin Hassett has been doing the rounds as well. Kevin Hassett's name has been mentioned. Kevin Hassett's name has been mentioned as a possible replacement for the Fed chair. So I'd like you to hear. He's on Fox News, so he's in his safe little space, and he's asked an interesting question because we've got some really bad job data. We know from the ADP data, we know from the Challenger report, we're losing jobs across the fucking every spectrum. We're hemorrhaging jobs like nothing we've seen in a very, very long time. This is his answer when asked about just listen to how he answers the question, okay? This is when he's asked the question about job market shakeups, 54% surge in cuts. Listen to his answer.
We just heard from Grady Trimble that says that year-to-date job cuts show an increase of 54%. That seems like a troubling number. What's your take on it?
Well, don't forget that there's hires and there's fires and there's separations and new jobs.
Hires and fires and separations and liars and tigers and bears and what?
And so net job creation for the year is very positive.
No, it's not. There is no net positive job creation. We've lost over 1 million jobs. There is no net positive job creation, my guy. There is none. We're not adding jobs. We're losing jobs. Okay? Like what?
But the flow of jobs in and out is a little bit higher. There's a little bit more turnover. A lot of times that could happen because people feel like they're actually able to get another job if they leave this job.
What? Okay, here it is again. What?
With that last number that we just heard from Grady Trimble that says that year-to-date job cuts show an increase of 54%. That seems like a troubling number. What's your take on it?
Well, don't forget that there's hires and there's fires and there's separations and new jobs, and so net job creation for the year is very positive.
No, there is no net job creation for the year. We've lost jobs. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. Here's my prediction: people on the right will take that soundbite and they'll play it and they'll say, "Hey, this guy right here, the guy who lies through his teeth, is saying that net job creation is positive." And then we'll go to the numbers and we'll show them the numbers. And what will they say? Fake news. Even though the numbers would come from the BLS, which, by the way, the BLS numbers, the GDP numbers are indefinitely delayed. Apparently, we're supposed to get some, like at the end of December, mid-December or so. Why would you hide that information if you were so confident? Why would you? Why would you just delay the numbers that much if you were so confident? Exactly. You can't have job creation when you're cutting jobs. This goes back to the ADP data that we got just yesterday, because again, the Trump administration is afraid to announce the BLS numbers. So this was the ADP report. Here you go.
Yeah, a big miss on the ADP payrolls. The private payroll company saying private payrolls shed 32,000 workers in November. That's the fourth negative number in the past 6 months for this series. Take a look here. The estimate was for 40,000, so the street was off on this one. And how did you get there? Well, goods producing shed 19,000 workers, service producing shedding 13,000 workers. But the big story here, and I'll show you more detail on this, is what's happening with small business, down 120,000. Medium and large business doing okay, up 51 and 39,000 respectively. But take a look at this chart here. Virtually all of the job losses have come from small business, which has been negative in 6 of 7 months since April. Without those losses, ADP numbers would actually be positive. But you can't get rid of it. You can't exclude small business. And then you look at it by sector. Well, we've seen those two sectors do it. Education, health services, leisure, hospitality leading the way. But manufacturing down, information down, and professional business services down by 26,000. Also, another sign of weakness in the job market. Job stayers, their wages up 4.4. That's down a tenth from the prior month. And job changers, that was a big number, or had been. That's down 0.4 of a point to 6.3%. So, Joe, at least according to ADP, additional weakness in the job market. And small business getting hammered, and there is some information that some of this may be coming from being hammered by the tariffs.
Okay, so how then, what is the spin out of this one? What is the spin? Small business is the backbone. Small business entrepreneurs are job creators. Corporations aren't. You don't create jobs through mergers and acquisitions. I've been part of four of them in my life. You don't create jobs. You thin jobs when you merge and acquire because of redundancy. You cut jobs during an M&A. They're not job creators. Corporations are not job creators. They're job fillers. They're not creators. In general, they don't expand. So enough. Small businesses, without them, small businesses are the lifeblood of our economy. Again, the middle class. Propping up. And you know who creates a lot of small business? Immigrants. They do. They create a ton of them. But it's fine. Just round up people because of your racism, your xenophobia, kick people out, cripple the economy even more. These things are happening. People being removed from jobs because of ICE and their fucking bullshit and their fucking racism and bigotry on full display. They're losing their jobs. Production's down, GDP's down, and the right always likes to go to the stock market, but nope. Nope. Stock market was up record highs during the Biden administration, but they called it fake. Meanwhile, the Biden administration was adding jobs. Joe Biden added more jobs in the last 30 months of his presidency than Donald Trump has done in 4+ years. And those are not deniable. It's not deniable. Got all the jobs back that were lost because of the C-19, and then added more. I think the number is 6.3 million. Record job creation. Where the fuck is the job creation from MAGA, from Trump? Where is it? Where is it? Stock market's only good because of AI, because of the boom. It's about to bust. It's not hard. It's not complicated. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. This is what happens when you're told fucking lie after fucking lie after fucking lie. By the way, I forgot to play this sound. This is Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw, by the way, who's in a little bit of heat because he's been a bad boy out on the road, apparently, and lost his travel privileges. A member of the committee who is chaired by a Republican said, "You've been a bad boy. You've lost your travel privileges." Well, this is Dan Crenshaw on the whole the boat thing.
Any time in my history doing counterterrorism operations where we strike a group, whether that's a building or a boat or a vehicle, and then we were like, oh, well, they're survivors, so we have to go, we can't kill them. Of course we killed them.
Number one, is he not drunk in that video? And number two, did he just confess to a war crime?
Yeah, he did. See? Fucking bloodthirsty. Bloodthirsty. For what reason? Other than your hatred. Other than you're just wanting to diminish people and degrade people and find somebody to blame to cover up your own fucking bullshit mediocrity. Yeah. But nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see here. Okay. For the last few minutes of the show, I want to let you know, I want you guys to know from me that Bitch Boy, aka Mike Johnson, really cares about women. He really does. He really does. I'm gonna play some sound for you to prove it.
I noticed that they didn't quote any particular person.
Let me set the context. Elise Stefanik has come out very aggressively. Elise Stefanik is in the leadership. She chairs the Republican committee. She is like the third ranking Republican in the House, and she is she's now a thorn in his side. She's come out recently saying that if we did a discharge petition right now, or the motion to vacate to remove you as the speaker, you don't have the votes. You don't have the votes, meaning that there's not enough people in the Republican caucus that would support him. So he's a little bit bothered by this. So to try to change his image, he's suddenly saying, listen, I really support women. I really do. Here you go.
I know that they didn't quote any particular person. No one was on record. I had about half the women in the conference in my office this morning who came in to encourage me, and many more came up to me on the floor just now. I think it's a spurless claim. I think there's no foundation in it whatsoever. People get frustrated, people say things, and there's a lot of people trying to stir division and dissension here, and we're just not playing along with that. I mean, look, I love everybody I work with. I try to empower every woman in the conference. I've been out actively, aggressively recruiting more Republican women, strong conservatives, run for Congress. We're funding them. Many of the women in our conference are on our Patriots list, which is our people in the vulnerable districts. I think I've given them on average almost $500,000 each now for their upcoming campaigns. I'm doing everything I can every day to empower all members of the conference. There's no gender division here at all in our conference. It's a meritocracy, and we've got great women doing great things. I'm their biggest champion.
Right.
That's what the record shows. So I can't respond to things that people supposedly have said off.
Mike, bitch boy, the problem is, Mike, is that you have been denying justice for survivors. Women were girls at the time, and you really want people to think that you are advocating for women? Well, the story is that there's numerous women in the Republican caucus who are really angry with bitch boy. Several female lawmakers have been increasingly defying Johnson on legislative matters and lobbying public broadsides at him, including a member of Johnson's own leadership team. This week alone, Rep. Anna Paulina Luna launched a discharge petition to go around Johnson and force a floor vote on congressional stock trading, posting on X that she, quote, is pissed that leadership isn't moving fast enough on the issue, while clarifying, I, like Mike Johnson, prefers to go through the regular order. I, like Mike, prefers to go through the regular order, and there's been an initial hearing on the issue. She's trying to go around it because he's not done anything. And I've not seen anything, because, of course, we hear Mike talking about how busy he is, but he doesn't know anything, right? Rep. Elise Stefanik of New York, the chair of the House Republican leadership, not only signed on to Luna's petition, but also publicly unloaded on Johnson over an unrelated issue in the National Defense Bill, suggesting in a series of social media posts that Johnson lied about the matter, The spat has seemingly since been resolved, but the bad blood brewing between the two of them has long been simmering. Asked about Stefanik's broadsides in the Capitol Wednesday, Johnson shrugged it off, saying he's not worried about it. It's not standing anywhere at all. Meanwhile, a member of high-profile Republican women are fleeing the House for other opportunities, weighing retirement or quitting Congress early, feeling some concern that GOP women's ranks could be depleted in the next Congress. Taken together, it's a sign of growing frustration among House GOP women who have less representation in leadership and hold only a single elected committee gavel. Two House Republican women who spoke to NBC on condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive internal matters said they feel they have been passed over for opportunities, that their priorities don't always get taken as seriously under Johnson's leadership, and that they believe that that could be a driving force for some exits and public fights with him. Let me get this straight, elected Republican women. Are you now saying that elected Republican men don't give a fuck about you? Where the fuck have you been? Where have you been? We've been saying this for a very long time. Okay? Are you finally just realizing this? That the men in your party don't give a fuck? Are you finally just realizing this? I know, Shirley, you jest. I am serious, and stop calling me Shirley. What? Are you literally finally realizing what we've been saying for a very long time? That they don't give a fuck about you. They will tokenize the shit out of you. And Mike Johnson will go on the record and say, I care about the women in leadership. I care about the women in my caucus. No, you don't. You're in a covenant marriage, you dumbass. You don't give a fuck. So there's a little bit of sound with his wife. He went on this podcast. He and his wife, Mike Johnson, went on this podcast. Let me play this sound first because this is interesting. This kind of piggybacks on a little bit of what I was just talking about. Here we go.
I think it's a spurless claim. I think there's no foundation in it whatsoever. People get frustrated. People say things. There's no gender division here at all in our conference. It's a meritocracy, and we've got great women doing great things. I'm their biggest champion, and that's what the record shows.
No, that's not what the record shows. So on this podcast, hosted by Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, who's been getting just destroyed every time she leaves her little safe space, this is his wife commenting on just some weird fucking shit. I don't even know how to describe it other than just weird. Here you go. Okay, Mike's talking about, women's roles. Here you go.
In this way is that men can compartmentalize things.
Yeah, men's brains are like waffles.
Yes.
They have little compartments, and they can think on one little compartment at a time and close it. But women, we cannot do that. We are always thinking. In fact, our brains are like spaghetti because it's the meatballs, the pasta, the sauce, the oregano. We're thinking of all of it, and we can't stop thinking.
What? She does have that stay sweet voice, doesn't she? What? Anybody care to comment? As my mods are probably currently ripping the screen apart. What? So women can't compartmentalize? Women can't do more than one thing at once? My husband and my son monitor each other's corn use? What? Huh? What? Somebody want to make that make sense to me? Yeah. Tell that to a single mom. Tell that to a single mom who's got multiple things, working multiple jobs, taking care of kids, multiple children, trying to keep their head above water, and you want to tell them that they can't compartmentalize? They can't move things around. They can't get shit done on multiple hands. That's why I say give the fucking keys to the car to the matriarchy and get the fuck out of the way. Like literally, just get the fuck out of the fucking way. Seriously. Speaking of a queen. Morning, queen. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Friends, in case you don't know, Cabin Mom is one of the amazing mods in our little family. Who I love dearly. So thank you for being here.
Aww,
What can I do?
I love you too.
Thank you.
I actually had a comment on what she was saying because I've always described men and women, like when men and women are sitting and watching TV. Now I'm generalizing, I know, but from my experience, like if I'm sitting and watching TV, I'm also thinking about what's for dinner and how much laundry I have to do and what else is going on next week and who has appointments coming up. And whereas my husband is literally watching TV and that's it. And in my mind, that's kind of what she was trying to say, is that, yeah. But to me, it's a superpower for women that we can do all these things at the same time. Whereas
totally agree.
My husband literally would watch the dog would pee on the floor because it's begging to go outside, but he's watching TV and he didn't even notice, so.
You're right. Right. Some men might, for example, get hyper fixated about a tree falling on their roof, and they might make bad decisions. Right?
Yes.
Things
and
like
not take their phone with them at least.
Yeah. Exactly. I have no idea what I have no idea what you're talking about at all. No idea.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So
nope.
Anyway,
no,
that
but you're
was
right.
my comment.
Yeah. I appreciate you very, very much. Hearts in the chat for our dear friend Brooke. We love you, friend. See you later.
Thanks. Love you too. Bye.
Bye. It's true, right? It's kind of true. There's a reason that I want the matriarchy to rule. I do too. Yeah, I got scolded last night because it was bad judgment. I completely agree in hindsight. It was bad judgment, but I was frustrated. I was pissed off. I was angry. I was like, fucking trees falling on my roof now? Is that a sign of the apocalypse? So I made a bad judgment. I get it. My dear friends were kind while also kicking me in the damn shin. Like, what the hell are you doing? You didn't take your phone with you? No, I didn't. I did not. Anyway, that's Mike Johnson. He's in a covenant marriage, don't forget. He does not respect women. He does not respect women at all. Not one fucking bit. So how ironic, though, is that Republican women in not even in leadership. I think there's one. I think it's Virginia Fox. I think she's the only woman that chairs a committee in the Republican caucus. Just look at the lay of the land. What was it? Was it Kevin McCarthy? I think it was Kevin McCarthy who said this. He said he looks out over the House floor, and he sees the Democrats, and it resembles America. It looks like America. Diversity, different skin colors, different orientations, right? And then he looks at the Republicans, and it looks like the most exclusive country club there is. So now Republican women are finally realizing that the men in their party don't give a fuck about them. All right, better late than never, but okay. Where the hell have you been? Where the hell have you been? Maybe that's what it's going to take. There's talk about the first woman president could be a Republican. And it's true. Again, just from a political science perspective, it's true. Because you could get a lot of votes, potentially. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen anytime soon, but there's been talks about that, about how you might be able to see that, right? You could see that happening. Again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. There's been lots of talk about that, right? Because it's going to take some movement for people pushing back. You could introduce a healthcare plan, solve problems for public education. I want to see that. I want to see that. I want to see it. The Republican Party has got to rebrand itself. They have no choice. They will never win an election again under the current conditions. I want what Donald Trump is afraid of, what Republicans are afraid of. I want to terminate the filibuster, pack the fucking court, statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico, abolish the Electoral College, all this kind of shit. Well, that's what they're afraid of because they can't cheat. They won't be able to cheat anymore. You had 4 Democrat seats because D.C. would get 2 senators, Puerto Rico would get 2. Think about the things that we could do. Think about the changes we could make. Those changes that they're afraid of. It boils down to this. They're afraid of expanding rights. They're afraid of democracy. You don't want that? Yeah, we do want that. I know. I'm assuming you're being facetious, Hazel. We do want that. We absolutely want that. We do. We taxation without representation. We want that. I want a progressive society. I want rights protected, and we can't get that with Republicans in charge. We just can't. They tell us every single day. It's more of the same. SCOTUS limits, sure. Sign me the fuck up. No problem with that. Sign me the fuck up. This is Howard Nutlick. I was just talking about him, right? This is somebody else who's got some explaining to do because he's one of the people that's now in charge of our government. He's one of the people that are setting economic policy. This is who he blames for the job losses.
I do want to ask you about the recent economic data, because today we learned that the private sector is losing jobs. Small business getting hit really hard. Negative number in front of ADP. And one of the reasons that they cite is tariffs. So do you worry about some of the economic fallout here as these tariffs really take hold?
Okay, who do you think he's going to blame? All right, he's going to blame somebody because that's their game. Who do you think he's going to blame? Let's listen. Hold on. I don't know why it does that. The volume always cuts out.
No, it's not tariffs. Remember, you had the Democratic shutdown, right? And what do you think happens to small business? The people who do business with the U.S. government, they know they're not getting paid, so they sort of slow down their projects. So you saw a little bit even of construction of small business down. So the Democratic shutdown hurt the numbers. And then remember, as you deport people, that's going to suppress private job numbers of small businesses. But they'll rebalance and they'll regrow. So I think this is just a near-term event, and you'll see as the numbers come through over the next couple of months, you'll see that all pass. And next year, the numbers are going to be fantastic. I think because the jobs of building in America, you know, as Donald Trump talks about, President Trump talks about the huge construction projects coming to America, I think you're going to see GDP next year superb.
How about you let us see the GDP this year? Why are you not sharing that information? So let's think about this for a second. It's the shutdown is the reason that small businesses were cutting jobs and deporting people. Okay. Sure. That's fine. So the Challenger report, which came out yesterday, Challenger Gray and Christmas is an organization who does report on economic numbers, similar to ADP, right? So they do the same types of research that they do. They connect with, they do forecasting. You know, that's how it works. December 4 Challenger report, 71,321 job cuts on restructurings, closings, and the economy. U.S.-based employers announced 71,321 job cuts, up in November 24% from last year. So where is the winning exactly? Where's the winning? And what excuse, what pretzel logic will they fucking use? What pretzel logic would they use? Where's it gonna? How are they gonna spin it? It's down 53% from the 153,074 cuts announced 1 month prior, according to a report released yesterday from the global outplacement and executive coaching firm Challenger Gray and Christmas. November's total is the highest for the month since 2022, when 76,835 jobs were cut. It is the 8th time this year jobs cuts were higher than the corresponding month 1 year earlier. Wasn't the bill of goods that you were sold, MAGA, was that Donald Trump was going to create jobs for you? It's the 8th time this year. How do you explain it? Layoff plans fell last month, certainly a positive sign. But that said, job cuts in November have risen by 70,000, only twice since 2008. How do we spin it? How do we spin it? How do we spin that? Where's the solution? If you're talking about creating jobs, and you're blaming the government shutdown on, remember Caroline Leavitt basically saying that the Democrats broke the BLS machine, like we kicked the plug out of the wall. It's on the Democrats that did it. Well, doesn't the buck stop with leadership? Right? Doesn't the buck stop with leadership? Aren't you the ones that are responsible? Because you blame Joe Biden for everything. So then just be consistent. If you want to, the 1,200 people in here, sure, go ahead and blame Joe for everything. Then do the same for Trump. So inflation's up. We're losing jobs. The economy's in fucking shambles. Our partners fucking hate us. Our allies fucking hate us. Isn't that Trump's fault? No, that's Biden's fault. How is that Biden's fault exactly? Well, because it's fucking Hunter Biden's cock. What? Just be consistent. It's really not a lot to ask, is it? Yeah, just cuz. Exactly. I think I have one more bit of sound for you guys, and I'll probably wrap for the day. Because I gotta get on the roof. I'm dreading it, but I'll do it. It is what it is. This little thing. This is interesting. This little nugget that came from that infamous cabinet meeting that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. I just want you to listen to what he had to say here. He's trying to compare. He's going back to blame Tim Walz again, but listen to what he said.
Over the fraud scandal in his state.
And who should?
Tim Walz. Over the fraud scandal in his state.
Look, I think the man's a grossly incompetent man. I thought that from the day I watched JD destroy him in the debate. I was saying, who is more incompetent, that man or my man?
What? Who is more incompetent? Tim Walz or JD? Really? That's pretty fucking wild. Here it is again.
I had a man and he had a man. They were both incompetent.
What? What, Donnie? What was that? I'm sorry. Well, one more time. Please tell us again. I want to hear that again.
Should resign over the fraud scandal in his state.
And who should?
Tim Walz. Over the fraud scandal in his state.
Look, I think the man's a grossly incompetent man. I thought that from the day I watched JD destroy him in the debate. I was saying, who is more incompetent, that man or my man? I had a man and he had a man.
What? What? Anyway, great week, friends. As always, we always talk about here, we're humbled by your support for what we do. We try to just do this every single day, make sure that we're kind of cutting through the noise, just remind people what's important. Always be asking yourself what you stand for. What side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of history with people who don't give a fuck about human rights? Do you want to be on the side of history who people don't care about war crimes? Do you want to be on the side of history where you literally, let's see, what does that say? You got to go in the attic and see what, I've been in the attic. I was up there last night, actually. I poked my head up there. It's a crawl space. I can't get in the attic. It's kind of complicated, but anyway, what side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of history that people remember you as a fighter for the rights of expansion of others, protection of women's rights of their body, protections for the LGBTQI community, defending education, defending public health? Or do you want to be against those things? It's really not that complicated. Just ask yourself that question, right? We're going to go right Danny. Let me just check in with the mods. Is Danny live, guys? I think so. I'm pretty sure Danny's live. Let's go right Danny. Tell her we said hello. And please, when you go over there, thank her for spending some time with us earlier for that amazing conversation. I really appreciate that. We'll be back. You'll probably see me around over the weekend. I'll check in. Just let you know that I haven't fallen off the roof and broken my neck. I won't do that, I promise. I'll be careful, I promise I will. I love you guys. You guys are awesome people. Got to remember what it is we're fighting for. Don't ever forget it. Go right Danny. Tell her we said hello. We'll see you back here. Probably see me around over the TikTok streets over the weekend. If not, Monday morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, right here. Please do something. Whatever that something is, no matter how big, no matter how small.